see. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello. Hello, can you hear me? So is the volume okay, or is it too low, or sounds good? All right. I don't like this camera, the position of this camera. Let's see what I can do about that. I don't like that. Let's see what that. Okay. It's okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. So we've got 19 people here. I see Sada's here. Hello. Hello. You've come to greet me, not to meet me. Oh, okay. Oh, Daniel Cohen. Yeah, that's not a healthy attitude. Billy is sleeping over there, so we'll see. He might come over. We'll see. All right. Well, so here we are. We got 22 people. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. So, and I don't have a like a program where I'm going to like show certain things. I'm here to communicate with you. I do have a, if things slow down, I have a few show and tell items I might bring out, but let me know, what do you want to talk about? Do you have any questions or observations? Hello, everybody. Hello. I can tell you, lately I've been dealing with tinnitus. Does anyone have tinnitus that's ringing in your ear? So right now, I'm hearing this. So I keep having to remind myself that everyone around me cannot hear that. But right now, I'm feeling I feel like I'm in some kind of industrial environment because I hear this all the time. It's not fun. Will I ever do a room tour? So I don't have a monster room like some people have where it's all on display. Everything is in boxes, or I have stuff on shelves, but it's like storage. It's not on display. So I don't have a monster room to show you. So unfortunately, the answer is no. I don't have any plans of a room tour, and you don't want to see the basement. It's just a mess. It's just boxes and things stored. It's not attractive. It's not something you want to see on camera. Hammer hard distinctive dummies. Well, we're going to do an episode on those probably this coming season. I do plan on doing a Distinctive Dummies Hammer episode. Lewis, no, is it Louis or Lewis? You did a Playco Universal Monsters video? Really? Well, send me a link to that. Not in the comments. I mean, maybe on my Facebook group, and I'll check that out. What Migos would I like to see in the future? Well, I'm not really. I'm not obsessed about what Migos are going to come out or not come out. I mean, if we never got any more Migos, I'm fine with what we've got. That's okay with me. I'm not really hoping and praying for a particular character, but I do hope they finish the main Hammer horror characters and give us an Oliver Reed Curse of the Werewolf. That's very important. I think that Hammer line is not complete until we get that Oliver Reed werewolf. So I don't know what obstacles there might be in getting that figure made, but I hope they overcome them and get us that werewolf. And then also a Hammer Abominable Snowman would be nice. Evil of Frankenstein, a couple others. But as far as Migos, I hope that they fill out that Hammer line with a few more characters, and then I'm good. I don't really need more Migo horror figures. I mean, I think they put out like 200 figures or more already. If they never put out another figure, we've got plenty. I've got boxes of Migo figures as it is. So let's see here. What inspired me to start creating content? Oh, thank you, people sharing that they have tinnitus. Yes, it's good to know that other people are as miserable as you are. You're not alone in your misery. It's bad. It's bad. What inspired me to create content? Well, boy, that's a hard one. I guess I saw other people doing it, and I thought, well, gee, if they can do it, I can do it. What the heck? I think this was back now, it was a few years ago. I was watching some toy videos that were one of two extremes. Either they were so produced, so slick, I almost wanted to throw something at the screen. They were very corporate, and it seemed like they were in an actual studio with a teleprompter, and you could tell the people talking had no idea what they were really talking about. It was all just for money to generate views, to monetize the channel. I didn't like that. And then on the other extreme, you had people who put no care at all into what they were doing, had crummy background and crummy video, crummy audio, and just mumbling about something and fumbling with the toy. And I thought, surely there's something in between these extremes. That's what I want to see. I don't want it so slick that it makes me sick, and I don't want it so crude that I feel like I'm wasting my time watching it. So I thought, I could do something that's kind of in the middle, that's a little more polished, a little more professional, but not so corporate and so overproduced. And so I think I made the content I wanted to see. I was looking around, I didn't really see a lot that I enjoyed. There was a couple of things I liked, but a lot of things they weren't what I wanted to see. So I said, well, I'll just make it myself. I'll make the content that I wish someone else were making. So I think that's how I got started with this. Now the music is a different thing, but that's with Basement of Horror. That's how I got started. Old Nasty. Yeah, I don't have the dizziness. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that about your situation. I don't have that. For me, it's just the noise, this constant sound in my ears. Seda says, what toy do you have that you are most excited to get? Oh, well, I have to go back to 1993. My carded Azrak Hanway creature from the Black Lagoon. That's really what started me on my path to collecting. I wanted to get that particular figure because this is my childhood Ahai creature. So this is the one I had as a kid, the very same one. He's been my buddy now since the 1970s. And I started collecting toys because I wanted to get him again, but on a card. And I had no idea how rare or expensive he was. And honestly, if he had been a common toy that I could have got for just a few bucks, maybe I would have just got him and then not collected anything else. But then I found that, in fact, he was extremely rare and would cost thousands of dollars, and only a few people on the planet had one. And I was undeterred. I said, well, I don't care. I'm going to get one anyway. And it, on the path to doing that, I started collecting all these other toys. And then when I finally did get one in 1993, cost me $2,500 in 1993 to get a carded one. And I didn't quit collecting. Even though I got the thing that was my goal on a card, I continued collecting beyond that. So that's how I started collecting. Patrick O'Donnell says he'd like to see some paper collectibles. Do you mean like posters, like movie posters? This is a reproduction here. Those are very hard. The posters are very hard to display. How would I do that? Although, well, I'll take a break in a minute. I do have some paper things that might be easy to show you here, but we'll wait a little bit. But full-size posters, what would I do? Like unfold them and show them? And they're very fragile, particularly the posters I like Mexican and Brazilian posters. I'm really into that. They're so they practically turn to dust in your hands. So it'd be very difficult to unfold them and show them to you on a format like this. I'm getting behind here. So some people want more Hammer Amigos. Funny Water, I answered about creating content. Let's see. A proper Mr. Hyde. I'm laughing to death. Do you mean like a Boris Karloff Universal Mr. Hyde? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, I definitely would like to see that. Because no one else has done a Mego style, official licensed Mego style Abbott and Costello meet Mr. Hyde figure. So that would be nice to see. Robert says, didn't NECA get a Hammer license? Yes, it was reported that they did, but they haven't done anything with it. So they may not do anything with it. Who knows? Maybe they're waiting for Mego to finish whatever they're doing, and then the NECA will come out with something. I don't know. But I think they have to use the license or they lose it. So they have to do something with it. Old Nasty would like a Mego Dr. Phibes. That would be nice. In fact, a whole line of, well, I don't know, some Vincent Price characters in the Mego format would be very nice. I would really like to see some. We haven't had a Vincent Price Mego. FTC made the Egghead figures, but I think those are the only official Vincent Price Mego style figures. We had some 12-inch licensed Vincent Price characters a few years back, like a decade ago, but nothing Mego style. So yeah, I'd like to see a Dr. Phibes. That might be too obscure for Mego. I don't know. Wolfman Walt enjoys my reviews the best. Well, thank you very much, Wolfman Walt. And AKH appreciates my presentation. Thank you. Thank you. I'm laughing to death. Do I play or collect video games? There's a kitty game coming next month. No, I don't play any video games. In fact, I've never played video games since I was a child. Back in childhood, I played Atari, like the original Atari. And since then, I've never played video games. It's just not been a part of my life. Daniel Cohen, do you collect sci-fi horror like I'm not sure what that is. Do you mean toys? Maybe sure. Like I've got like the Killer Alien. Well, the one I have now is my childhood one, but I mean I've got other Alien toys, and yeah, I mean some of the stuff I collect would be sci-fi. Seda, she loves it. Well, thank you, Seda. AKH, love the creature. Well, AKH are one letter off from being A-high. Just change that. Take out that K, move the H, and put an I in there. I'm laughing to death. Wow. So, oh, I'm laughing at I thought $100 for a Svengoolie figure was a lot. Yeah, what's the price on those Svengoolie figures these days? Oh, let's see here. George. Is that George or is it George? Jorgh or Jorge Almeida. George Almeida? Did you watch a guy called Zaran He has done tons of videos on Universal horror films. No, I don't know Zaran Is that his real name? I don't know. No, I've not seen him. Funny what? How many toys do I have in all? I'm guessing, I don't know, a couple thousand, something like that. Probably more than I think. Probably more than a couple. Probably a few thousand, I guess. I'm laughing. He's great. So Zaran is great. I've never heard of this guy. Post a link in my Facebook group. Wolfman Wall. Old one sheets are very fragile. Yes, that's why I don't. How would I even do that? Like displaying a poster in this format would be so difficult, and it wouldn't be a good presentation. It'd be all folded and reflections, and it just wouldn't. It wouldn't really work in this format. I would end up having to show you photos I took of the posters, which I do sometimes in my videos. If I'm referring to a poster, I might show a poster like for reference as I'm talking about a toy or something, and it's always like a JPEG of that poster. What would be the point of sitting here talking about JPEGs if I can't actually show you the thing in person? Now I know some auctions like Chance Priest does poster auctions and he stands there and he holds the poster, but that's not I don't want to do that. That's not the format here. Um, Patricia wants me to talk like Coffin Joe. She likes my Coffin Joe short film. Thank you, Patricia. Can I talk that? I haven't tried talking like him in a long time. I don't. Um, I don't know. Let me. I don't want to mess it up. Gosh, what do I even say? O mio mundo è extraño. I don't know. How about that? That's it. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I need to practice before I talk like Coffin Joe. I'm out of practice. Um, yeah, I need to. I don't just start talking like him. I kind of, for the times you've like in that film and other stuff, I rehearsed. And for the actual Coffin Joe film with Mujica, Coffin Joe, he sent me videos where he was coaching me on the lines. So he would, uh, what was it? I don't remember. He was saying the lines and how to say them, and I was like practicing along with what he was saying. Which toys do I regret selling? I regret selling. So it's Eddie's physical media talk. I regret selling practically everything I've ever sold. I regret. I don't like selling toys at all. I hate it. But what do I really regret? Um, let's see. Probably stuff from the '90s, from a long time ago. Well, so somewhere. I don't want to say I regret selling things like oh, I sold off my NPC collection, like Pop Tops, Unbreakable, Weird Monsters, that stuff. I had the Target set. I had a lot of good stuff there. And basically, I needed that money to finance my synthesizers. That was what it boiled down to. So I don't really regret selling that. I know some good people, friends of mine, got that stuff. I don't regret having the synthesizers. So, but that's something in the last 10 years that I guess if I didn't need the money, if I could have just like the synthesizer, if I could just paid for it out of pocket, I would not have sold those. But I had to sell stuff to buy the synthesizers. Back in the '90s, I had all kinds of stuff. Oh goodness, you name it. I had a beautiful Mego superhero collection. I had all kinds of mint boxed Mego superheroes, several carded ones. It was a lovely collection. I mean, if I had that collection now, I'd be one of the big Mego people in the world if I still had that collection. Um, but that was mid '90s. I sold that off. Uh, I don't regret that, but it would be nice to be able to hold those now and look at them and admire those Mego packaged Mego superheroes. Let's see here. JC Dietrich monster trading cards. No, I don't collect those. I don't have any of those unless they're childhood ones I still have, but I don't collect monster trading cards. Funny what, I like your content. Well, thank you very much. AKH more Vangelis. So do you mean like more covers? You want me to perform more covers? Yeah, I don't that you're probably not going to see that because I'd rather, if I'm going to take the time to record something, I'd rather it be my own composition. And I know covers will get me the views, that's for sure. I mean, my own composition might get 500 views, and a Vangelis cover might get 100,000 views. But I'd rather, if I'm going to record stuff, I'd rather it be my stuff. But Vangelis is my musical hero, so he's always in what I'm doing somehow. He's my biggest inspiration. So in a way, his spirit is there when I'm performing something. His spirit is hovering over me. So Danny, Raymond, do you have any vintage paper Halloween decorations from the 70s and 60s? Yeah, paper decor. Not many. No, I mean, I have a few older ones, like some German ones, but not a lot of that stuff. Like a little bit, but not enough to really. I wouldn't do a show about it. It's not enough to make a presentation out of it. I'm laughing. Oh, there's Billy. You okay, Billy? Let's see here. Let's see. Seda wants vintage Halloween decoration. I have decorations, but it's not like the kind I think you're talking about. Lewis, you rehauled Amigo Mr. Hyde into a Frederick March Mr. Hyde. Okay. Post pictures of it at the. Are you in the Facebook group? Get in there and post pictures of it. Price should be a shoe-in for a celebrity Amigo. I don't need to see any more celebrity Amigos. I really just want to see licensed characters. I remember the days where you had like Cher and Dinah Shore and Farrah Fawcett and Donnie Marie. We don't need to go that route with Migo, but I would like to see some Vincent Price characters, like movie characters. Matthew Payne says, or is it Paney, says, which do you prefer, licensed figures or generic monster figures? I think if it's contemporary, I prefer licensed monster figures. Maybe I just don't have a lot of faith in a company producing a line of generic monster figures that I would really care about. And when they do produce something like that, it tends to be kind of not a style that I like. But when you're talking about vintage figures, I love generic monster toys and knockoff monster toys. If you're talking about vintage, if you're talking about contemporary, maybe just because of the aesthetic choices that you find in contemporary toys, I don't have any faith that a company would make generic monsters that I would really enjoy. So the generic Migos have been okay, but they're not my favorite of the Migo monsters that we've seen. Like I didn't buy that Grim Reaper or that Hunchback from the Top Steel. So I'd say licensed for contemporary toys. Licensed is what I like. For vintage toys, I love the Azrak Henway licensed Universal toys, but I have much more affection for vintage unlicensed or bootleg monster toys. Amigo Rondo Hatton and Dracula's Daughter would also be lovely. That's pretty obscure. You know, there was a licensed 12-inch Rondo Hatton several years ago. Robert Crawford says at some point you had an Aurora model prisoner behind you. Did you build it? It's not. I put it back upstairs. Yes, I built that. Did I build it, and do I do other kit or resident modeling? Well, here's yes, I do. Not lately, but I went through a model building period about 20 years ago where I built all kinds of Aurora kits, vintage and modern reissues. So I would get vintage unbuilt Aurora kits, and I would get modern ones. And I built a set of reissue Aurora kits, and I also got some vintage ones and built those as well. And I was also doing like Fun Dimensions and other stuff. It was a mix of reissues. I would never put reissue parts and original parts together. I always kept it so either built up was all original vintage or it was all reissue, one or the other. I would never mix them together. But I was doing both. I was doing reissue kits and original kits. But I haven't done that in a long time. I did a Jaws kit a couple years ago because I wanted to use it in a video. But that was the first one I'd done in a long time. But a friend of mine named Danielle sent me this recently. This was a gift. This is a modern reissue of 2 Dark Shadows model kits. So in this box are these 2 kits, Barnabas and the Werewolf. And I do intend to build these. When, I'm not sure. I thought I would have all kinds of time this summer, but the summer seems to be just going by so fast. I don't know. But I do intend to build these 2 kits. And so I would love to have, if I were to get the original 60s ones, I would want to keep those unbuilt in the box. But these are reissues, so I can build these. But it would be nice to build these and then get the originals and have them side by side. And I have some original Aurora monster kits in original boxes that would be nice to have, like the original box with like the built-up kit, and the built-up could be a reissue, but the box is original just for display purposes. But I don't display anything anyway, so who am I kidding? But here's what it looks like. So someday that will be built, and I'll have a little Barnabas and a werewolf. And you might see them over here, but I'm not sure when. This is a really nice box. Look at this. It's got pictures of Colin Wood. On the side, the old house. That's where Barnabas lives. Some nice images of Barnabas and the werewolf. So the box is really nice. Let's eat up some time. I'm trying to close this box. There we go. It's closed. I'll put this over here. That's good. What we got here? I'm behind on these. Oh, Daniel says, thanks to me, he watched Mandy. So I hope you liked Mandy. Jared, I hope everyone is doing well. Can't stay long. Hope you're all good. Thanks for coming, Jared. Seda likes Coffin Show. That's cool. Oh, Robert, the posters are meant to be displayed by that guy with the mustache on Antiques Roadshow. I used to watch Antiques Roadshow all the time. Not so much these days. Wolfman Walt, what are some of my favorite modern monster horror films? You know, I'm a little bit out of touch with modern horror. I haven't been watching as many. So I was doing a pretty good job of keeping up with the genre up until 2014 or so, thereabouts. And then I started to disconnect from it. And the horror movies that are coming out now, something about them, I just don't care. they don't interest me. I don't know if it's the their worldview or something. They're coming from a place I don't identify with. Um, but I do like in the I don't know what the decade's called, the 20 teens. I don't know. The first decade's the knots, and then the second decade, I guess, is the teens. I don't know. But I do like some of those horror movies like The Babadook, It Follows. I like The Human Centipede. I like a lot. I actually like a lot of the French extremity films, but I don't like it when Hollywood does really depressing, bleak, mm, these very shocking, extreme horror movies coming out of Hollywood. For some reason, when it's an art film from Europe, it's okay, but when it's Hollywood, it just feels crass and exploitive. So I feel like great Hollywood, the French did it 20 years ago. That you're a little late, but I really wish monster movies would make a comeback. I miss I miss fun. Like horror movies are not fun anymore. They're so serious. They're so depressing. They're just bleak. They're not fun. The horror movies from the past that I like I love grindhouse movies from the 70s and 80s, that some of those were just really, really dark and violent, but they were still fun. And horror movies today, it seems like they're so bleak and hopeless and blah. You watch them and you just feel, oh gee, bummed out. There is a way to make a movie dark and still fun. You can do it. And I feel like it's not what's happening anymore. So I think that's part of why I sort of disconnected from the genre a little bit. But also, I like monsters, and they just don't make monster movies very much anymore. Not good ones. If they do have a monster, it's CGI or something. It just doesn't have the same impact. So I miss a good old fashioned monster movie. Maybe that's why I like The Babadook and It Follows, because those are monster movies. They're modern horror, but they're monster movies. Let's see here. Mick in pop culture, do I still visit the UMA site? No, not very much anymore. Every once in a while, just to kind of see what's happening, but not very much. Teddy, any flickerings in your collection? Nope, no flickerings. I just never got into that. I have a couple of friends who are super into that, but I never got into it because they were just, I don't know. By the time I took notice of them, they were so expensive. I just thought, why would I want to spend hundreds of dollars for this little ring? I'm just, it wasn't where I wanted to put my money. If I could have bought them for like 10 or 20 bucks each, sure, maybe I'd have some. But by the time they were on my radar, they were already so expensive that I just said, I'll leave that to other people, because there were other people who are specializing in that. So I'll just, they're the experts on that. I'll let them have that. I'll yield to them. Let them. There's no why tread the ground that they have already conquered. I'll let them have it. AKH, AHI, Azrak Hamway International. It's a company from the 1970s that made a bunch of rack toys, including Universal Monsters licensed rack toys. Let's see. Fletch, nice Vampire's Coffin poster in the background. So this is not original. This is a repro. But I do have an original Il Vampiro poster, one sheet. I don't have this as an original, The Vampire's Coffin, the sequel. I just have this repro. But I have the first movie, Il Vampiro. I have the original one sheet for that, the real thing. And, I never can pronounce his name right. Herman Robles. I'm sure I mangled that. Herman Robles. I actually met him. I have a photo of the two of us, together, and I got his autograph and everything. He's not with us anymore, but I'm glad I got a chance to meet him. Paul, you're awesome, dude. As a monster collector myself, I appreciate the content. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. AKH, do you appreciate Aphrodite's Child? Yes. And the lead singer, Demise Roussos. Or is it Demi or Demise? I always say Demise, but it's probably Demi, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I've listened to Aphrodite's Child, sure. I guess it was in the 90s I started listening to them. Because I've been listening to Vangelis since the 70s, but I didn't start listening to Aphrodite's Child until my college age. But I mean, I bought 666. I don't know, late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, like in that ballpark. I bought the LP, and then I bought a compilation of Aphrodite's Child songs, an LP, and they're hard to get digitally because most of the music I listen to these days is digital, and they're not. There's only a little bit of their output that's available, like on iTunes. 666 is there and a few of their songs, but I mean, there's more of it on Spotify, but mostly I would listen to them on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. There's more of it available there. But I have some LPs, and yeah, so I do listen to Aphrodite's Child. J.C. Dietrich, what about ESCO, Universal Monster statues from the 70s? Nope, I don't have any of those. They're so big. Where would I put them? This is another thing where sure it'd be nice to have them, but I don't have any place to put those things. So, and they're so heavy. I'm thinking shipping would be a costly. I don't know. Just no. I never got into collecting them. I appreciate them when I see them in other people's collections, but I don't personally buy them. Lewis, I don't do Facebook. Well, it's too bad. If you ever do Facebook, we got a Basement of Horror Facebook group that you probably enjoy. Let's see here. Well, I'm way behind. Mark, awesome. I caught your live stream. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being here. I was just reading Stephen King's Salem's Lot, and it says the kid has a universal horror monster. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know about that character in Salem's Lot. And I remember as a kid seeing the movie adaptation on television when it originally aired and seeing that kid's room. And of course, I wanted a room just like that with all the stuff he had. Oh, there's Penny. So I mentioned Danielle earlier. So Penny, Danielle, they're the same. Well, I was going to say they're the same person. That's sacrilege. I should not say that. Penny is a good friend of Danielle. But Danielle is the one who gave me that model kit that I showed you. Or did Penny give me the model kit? Maybe they both gave me the model kit. Wolf, hi Penny. Hi Danielle. Wolfman Walt, that's awesome. AKH, what do you do when you're not composing music? We're gonna use. Well, what I do when I'm not doing this, I have a job. And so mostly that's what I do. I do my job. I work at a children's therapy and special education center. I'm the marketing director. So I sit at a desk like this. I'm on a computer and I do marketing stuff. And I take pictures of the kids' activities in the class and shoot videos. And I do collateral. That's like the annual report and flyers and brochures and event promotions and email marketing and social media for the agency. So I spend quite a bit of time. It doesn't leave a lot of time or mental bandwidth for other things. So I try to squeeze in other stuff, but it's not just a matter of time. It's a matter of just where your brain is. So it's hard to, if my brain is with that job, then to switch it over and focus on monsters and switch it again, do music. It's kind of hard shifting the gears like that sometimes. Nathaniel says he loves the show and I'm totally his speed. Thank you, Nathaniel. Thank you very much. Old Nasty likes the Dark Shadows model kit. Cool. Lewis bought the Dark Shadows DVD say, yeah, I'd like to have that. But I don't. Would I actually watch it? I watch Dark Shadows on streaming, so I don't know if I would pop the DVDs in that often instead of just watching it streaming. But I'm sure there's extras, supplements on those DVDs that I don't have that would be probably worth the price of the set. It's just a cool thing to have, just as an object. It's a cool thing to have. Kind of like the Coffin Joe coffin box or the Blind Dead coffin box. It'd be nice to have the Dark Shadows coffin box. Let's see here. Robert's talking about modeling. Lots of hammer resin kits. You're welcome, Robert. I don't build resin kits. I tried years ago, back in the 90s, and I just didn't like it. I like styrene plastic model kits, and I like vinyl. I haven't bought a vinyl kit in a long time, but I remember I liked those. But I don't know why resin. I think something was just too homemade about the resin kits. It didn't feel legit. I wanted something that was made in a factory with like injection molded plastic. The resin kit, I don't know if something about it didn't quite click with me. And I think the material or the texture, I don't know. I really liked that very industrial machine made feel of a styrene plastic or a vinyl kit. That appealed to me. Let's see here. Seda compliments everybody. So many great questions. Brian Ashmore Studio would love to know my favorite 4 or 5 monster Migos and which other monsters I'd like to see them make. Great channel. Well, thank you. Well, let's see. Favorite monster Migos. I guess the Bela Lugosi Dracula. I like the red lined cape. Bela Lugosi Dracula. I don't know, the Nosferatu. That was pretty cool. The first one. Let's see. I think I'd have to reevaluate all of those to pick a favorite. I like the Christopher Lee Dracula. If they really do a good job, if they do that Oliver Reed werewolf and do a good job, that will probably become my favorite. But that doesn't exist yet. Let me see. I'm sure there's later. I'll think of one and say, "Oh, of course, that's the one I should have named," but I can't think of it. I can't think of one at the moment that's my obvious choice, except that second Bela Dracula with the red lining and the cape, and also the first Nosferatu. So I would pick those two, and Christopher Lee Dracula. Those three vampires, 3 versions of Dracula, really. AKH likes Babadook and it follows. Cool. Let's see. There are some great recent movies like Come True or Possessor, but those are serious. Yeah, I've never heard of Come True. I know Possessor, and I've been meaning to watch that. Everyone says good things about it. Come True. I've never heard of Come True. I have no idea what that is. Possessor. It's again. I bet it's great. I bet I'll like it, but I bet it's about as much fun as driving a stake through your eye. So, but I'll watch it eventually. The Witch, Midsummer, Hereditary are the best horror movies of the decade. Mark Rickert says. So I like The Witch. I saw that at the theater, and I liked that a lot. I saw The Lighthouse and did not like that. I have not seen The Northman. I did not like The Lighthouse, but I liked The Witch a lot. That was great. I saw Hereditary, and we probably just shouldn't talk about that. I did not like that. I can understand why other people like it. I did not like it. Midsummer, I have not seen. I keep debating whether to watch it. I mean, other friends who have seen it tell me it's basically a ripoff of The Wicker Man, which is one of my favorite films. So I'm not very happy that a modern director just took this classic movie and just did his own version of it and got pat on the back for it. Uh, Great. I mean, he basically remade The Wicker Man with a younger, modern cast and without the songs. Okay, lovely, great, wonderful. Eh. So, but because I had such an allergic reaction to Hereditary, I kind of boycotted Midsummer. And because of all my friends who've told me, oh, it's just The Wicker Man, a rip off The Wicker Man. So that's why I haven't seen Midsummer. But one of these days, I'm sure I'll watch it. I'll give it a chance, and who knows? Maybe I'll love it. I don't know. But boy, did I not like Hereditary. Did not like that movie for a variety of reasons. Don't need to get into it here. So X is kind of fun. So that's one on my list to see. I have a feeling I'm going to like that one. I have not seen it yet, but I do want to see X. I've heard a lot of good things that make me feel like that is one I'm going to enjoy. So what do I think about Rob Zombie's Monsters movie? Well, one of my best friends is playing Grandpa Munster, so I have to like it. But I think it's great. I haven't liked all of Rob Zombie's movies. I used to just love Rob Zombie's music, and I still like it. And I love his earlier stuff, and I still like his newer stuff. It doesn't have the same thrill that his 90s, early 2000s music had, but I still look forward to each new album. I still buy every new album Rob Zombie makes, and I still enjoy them. His movies, I like House of 1,000 Corpses. I love Devil's Rejects. I think that's a masterpiece. After that, I'm not sure. I don't hate his Halloween movies like some people do, and I can respect that he was trying to do something different with those. Lords of Salem, I can respect that he was trying to spread his wings and do something a little different with that. But I saw Lords of Salem at the theater, and I came out kind of scratching my head, like I'm not sure about that. I respected what he was trying to do, but I don't feel like he really accomplished his mission. And I didn't see 31, even though I contributed to the crowdfunding for that film, but I didn't watch it. And what was is it? Oh, I didn't see From Hell because I didn't like the idea of rescinding the perfect ending of The Devil's Rejects by making another movie all these years later, especially with Sid Haig not being able to fully participate. So I didn't watch that. I thought I don't want to spoil my memory of The Devil's Rejects. I want that to just remain perfectly what it is and not sully my thoughts about that film with what I thought was an unnecessary sequel. Now, from what I've seen of the Monsters film, which of course I've seen what everyone else has seen, which is not much, I think it could very well be a great film and lots of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's fantastic, and I think it could very well be a wonderful movie. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I'm looking forward to it. And, I know that Rob Zombie is a big Monsters fan. That doesn't always equate to when someone is a big fan of something and then makes a movie version of it, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like Peter Jackson is the world's #1 King Kong fan, but I hate his King Kong. King Kong 1933 is my favorite film. That and 68 Night of the Living Dead, my two favorite films. So I love the original King Kong. I don't like Peter Jackson's King Kong for a whole lot of reasons. And I feel like maybe because he was such a fan of it, maybe he was too close to it. And that he wasn't able to be objective. So maybe sometimes it's better if you're not such a big fan when you're taking on one of these projects. Johnny Depp and Tim Burton were supposed to be huge Dark Shadows fans. But their Dark Shadows movies, a lot of people don't like that. I'm a little more positive about it than some people, but I recognize that it's not the Dark Shadows movie we wanted. So again, maybe they were too close to it, and they couldn't be objective about it. So sometimes being a big fan of something, it doesn't always equal being able to make a great movie about that thing. So we'll see. I hope the Monsters movie is fantastic. From what I've seen so far, it looks great. There's nothing that gives me a bad feeling about it. Everything I've seen so far gives me a positive feeling. But that's enough about the Monsters. Let's see here. Have I seen pictures of Nicolas Cage as Dracula? This is Matthew. Yeah, I've seen those pictures. I think he looks great. Who knows? I don't have a lot of confidence in that particular film, but it could surprise me. But I think he looks good as Dracula. Let's see. I need to get ahead here. Let's see. Old Nasty's talking about Playmates Monster Force. I think I bought a few of those back in the day, but I don't have them now. I didn't like them back then. I don't really like them now. I don't have any desire to own them. I remember when they were new thinking, what's this? But I think I did buy a couple, but I probably sold them. Shadow Angel, how are you and how's Billy? Well, other than my tinnitus, which is driving me crazy, I'm okay. Billy's okay, and I was hoping he would jump up here. He's been walking around a little bit. He's doing all. Oh, there he is. He's doing all right. Billy, he has good days and bad days, but generally he's doing okay. He's a special needs kitty. He has health issues that are always going to have to be monitored, but he's doing okay. I'm taking good care of him, and I think he's living a good life. So Fletch, if you get a chance, either pick up the book The Living Dead by George Romero or listen to the audiobook. Billy Cardell. Is it Cardell or Cardell? Billy Cardell's daughter and another actor read it. It was George's last book before he. So I don't know about that book. I had not heard of that. So George Romero wrote a book about the fictional book about the living dead before he died. I had not heard about that, which is strange. That does sound interesting. Let's see. Fletch is just a lot of fun. He was actually a damn good writer. Well, he was a good screenwriter, that's for sure. Let's see. Where am I? I'm getting lost here. Sadie says my brain is awesome. Oh, thank you. Maybe you could remove it and put it in a terrarium or something, decorate it with some little plants and stuff. That'd be cute. That'd be cool. So my brain could be there, and you could have a little garden around it and some little characters standing on it. Let's see. Well, Lewis is saying Bela Lugosi never wore a red cape. No, I know he didn't, but I like the red cape. The iconic image of Bela is in the red cape because of promotional art and the Aurora model artwork and all that kind of stuff. Mark, what is the most prized piece of my collection? Oh, I guess it's my carded Azrak Hamway creature. The thing that really put me on a quest to start collecting toys so I could be in a position to get that toy. That's the most important piece of my collection. My blue-haired shock monster mask is pretty important. I have an original vintage Topstone shock monster with blue hair, and that's a pretty important piece to me. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Okay, AKH. I'm sorry for skipping over some things, but I'm getting behind here. I need to catch up. Thank you for answering questions. Going back to your Boggy Creek video, do you believe Sasquatch could be real? Okay, so do I believe Sasquatch could be real? If you'd asked me 20, 30 years ago, I would have said, oh yeah, Bigfoot's real. I'm pretty sure he's real. I'm pretty confident. Today, no, I don't think Bigfoot's real. And that's sad because for a good part of my life, I grew up almost assuming, of course, it's real, based on the popular culture, everything I was seeing on TV and movies and reading in books. I mean, I was huge into Bigfoot as a kid. And even all through the 90s, there was all this nonfiction stuff on television about Bigfoot and the paranormal. I thought, well, yeah, it's probably real. And I would look at the Roger Patterson, Bob Gimlin film and say, that looks like a real animal there. I think it was in the 21st century, just with the advent of social media and the availability of information, it's so easy. Just like when I developed this tinnitus, I went online and got all this information about tinnitus. When Billy had his health problems, I went online and I was telling the vet stuff that the vet didn't know about different conditions. It's like that with Bigfoot. You go online and you can just you can cut the BS immediately because it's all the information is there, and you can see right away how it's like a house of cards that just falls apart. All this supposed evidence that years ago seemed credible now seems obviously baloney. So much of it just you can see exactly where it came from and what the flaws are and the credibility issues. And the Roger Patterson film, now we have this high resolution version of this film that we can watch all the little details of this thing, and it looks like a suit. You can see all the seams where this part of the suit connects to this part, and this part doesn't move, but this part does, and just you can see how it was made. So it looks like a suit, whereas before it did not look like a suit. But now with this high res available, now that it's available online in high resolution, you can look at it and examine it and say, oh yeah, it's a suit. It is a suit. And you can learn that I have a collection of Bigfoot casts, like resin casts of all these different famous Bigfoot tracks. And you can see they're fake. There's someone made these things. And you can see how the exact same tracks show up in different parts of the country. And we know who made them, the name of the person who made this track and the name of the person who made that track, and connect all these things together. So it all just kind of falls apart. And by now, if they were real, for goodness sakes, we'd have indisputable evidence by now. We would have caught one or had good video of one or something. So it's very hard to keep the faith. It's very hard to keep believing in something like that in the light of the modern information age and how much knowledge is available so readily. It's the illusion is kind of broken. But I'm still pretty obsessed with Bigfoot all the same. Should we be excited about the upcoming Universal Monsters Land? Will we be horribly disappointed? I won't be disappointed because I won't be going to it. I don't plan on going to Orlando anytime soon. I don't know. That's kind of off my radar. I'm not really worried about it, but I don't really have any confidence in Universal Studios and anything they do with the monsters. I don't think they have the slightest idea what to do with their monsters. They never have. Carl Laemmle in the 30s knew what to do with the monsters. After that, Universal has never known what in the heck to do with those monsters. Even in the 40s, they didn't really know what to do. They kind of accidentally stumbled into some good movies there, but even then, I don't think they really knew. And for sure, the only reason we had good Universal Monsters stuff in the 60s and 70s was because other people were doing it. Aurora or Azrak Hanway or the horror host showing the movies. It wasn't Universal doing that. It was other people carrying that torch. And then when Universal took more control over the brand, it's never been good. They've mishandled the brand for the last 40 years. Ever since they started having a more strict control over what could or could not be done with them, Universal does nothing but mismanage the monsters. So I have really no confidence in anything Universal does with regards to their monsters. Jordan, thank you, Jordan. You're welcome. Thank you. Let's see here. And Nathaniel's making a point about Nicholas Meyer and Star Trek. Like, he was not a Star Trek fan. He came to it fresh, and he made great Star Trek movies. Whereas maybe someone who was a fan perhaps would have done a not so hot job. And Justin says his Night of the Living Dead is his favorite film. I concur. That, for me, and King Kong are two favorite films. Do I collect any Night of the Living Dead items? Any chance of an episode on Blood Island? Okay, there's not a lot to connect. There's not a lot to collect for Night of the Living Dead. I'm getting stuffy here. Hold on a second. I actually have some water. Okay. There's not a lot to collect with Night of the Living Dead that would interest me. There's not a lot of toys that, I mean, there've been a few, but I like those masks that were made in the 90s, but those are really hard to get. And then, from what I understand, they don't hold up, they rot. So there's not a lot of surviving examples. I think someone reissued them, but I have some of the books, like the nonfiction books, like the Night of the Living Dead film book and some stuff like that. And I have an original Night of the Living Dead one sheet and an original press book. So the one sheet, it's in beautiful condition. I think it's like a 9 out of 10. It's on Heritage Auctions. That's where I got it from Heritage, and I think they graded it near mint. It's pretty nice condition. So that's one of my prized possessions of my poster collection, and probably one of my most valuable posters. You'd be surprised. Night of the Living Dead posters is pretty expensive, and I've got the press book as well. So I've got that. I don't have lobby cards. It'd be nice to have a set of lobby cards from Night of the Living Dead, but I don't have any figures. Do I? Am I forgetting something? I don't think so. Like, I don't have. Was it MC that made the Night of the Living Dead Mego style figures? I don't have those. I didn't like them. I didn't think they looked very good. I thought Ben, the main character, I thought he looked good, but besides him, I didn't think the rest of them looked good. And then there were a couple of 12-inch figures, and the same thing. I thought Ben looked good, and then they made the Cemetery Ghoul. I didn't like the way he looked, so I didn't buy those. So the answer is no, except for the poster and the press book and a few other books. I don't really have a lot of Night of the Living Dead items. Blood Island, again, there's not a lot to collect there, but out of what exists, I probably have it. I mean, most of it. So yes, I've got a lot of movie paper for Blood Island. I have a lot of posters, and there's something I might be able to, if I have to get up to get. I recently bought a bunch of stills, like official publicity stills from the Blood Island films, and I'm putting them in like a portfolio, a book, so I could flip through them all. But I've got a bunch of posters and press books and promotional stuff for Blood Island. So I had quite a few things for Blood Island, including the modern stuff like the tiki mug and what have you. The Hawaiian shirt, and that kind of stuff from the past year. So I have a nice little Blood Island collection. A couple of things that Blood Island related that I really want that I don't have. I don't have the big resin kit of the Beast of Blood holding his head up. There's a 90s original version, but then it's been reissued. So there's a new one that you can buy right now, brand new. I don't have either one of those. And I don't have an original packet of green goo from Mad Doctor of Blood Island. So like the little plastic packet that has the green goo in it. I'm not talking about a fan-made thing. I mean like an original 1960s packet of goo. They do exist, but I don't have one. So those are my two big wants for Blood Island. I want an original Hemisphere Pictures packet of green goo from Mad Doctor of Blood Island. Not a modern one, a original 60s green blood packet. And I want that resin kit. And I'd really prefer the 90s original with the box that has the cover art. I mean, I may have to settle for the reissue, but I'd rather first try to get the original from the Island things I like to have. I think if I could get those, I would probably do an episode. But I feel like those are holes in my. I need to have those items for a complete presentation. Let's see. Yeah, Robert disagrees that Midsummer has much in common with Wicker Man. It could be. I mean, I've heard a number of people say that it's just say the opposite, but I haven't seen it for myself. Jordan, have I ever seen White Zombie with Lugosi? Yes, I've seen that. I have that on DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray of it, but I do have a good DVD of it. I've definitely watched that for sure. I might have seen that on the big screen too. I don't remember, maybe, but I've definitely seen White Zombie several times. Robert agrees with Seda. I guess you're talking about King Kong there. Was talking about how to pronounce his name. Let's see. Oh, there's Lucas from Brazil. Hello, Lucas. He gives greetings to everyone in the audience. Let's see here. AKH, the 31 Frankenstein on a scale of 1 to 10. I wouldn't rate. I think the original Frankenstein and the original Dracula from 31, I think those are beyond grading, ratings, whatever. Those are iconic. Yeah, those are classic, iconic films. It just doesn't matter what you think of them. They're classic, iconic films that are like the building blocks of the genre. So you take them away, and the genre falls in on itself. Now, comparing the 31 Frankenstein to the Bride of Frankenstein, I like Bride of Frankenstein more than the original Frankenstein. I think Bride is a better film. I mean, it's not as foundational as the original Frankenstein, but I think it's a better, all around better movie. It's one of the best films in the horror genre. And but I think the original Frankenstein is probably more influential than Bride of Frankenstein. I think Bride is perhaps a little more esoteric. But anyway, between the two of them, I think Bride is the better film. Ed Hill says The Void is really good. I've seen The Void. Yeah, I like The Void. I remember there were a few, story-wise, a few clunky aspects that kind of I felt like should have been smoothed out, but I did see The Void, and I liked it. Count Stankus. Hi, Raymond. Hi, Count Stankus. Let's see here. So I think I'm all caught up. Seda wants to know how I organize my collection. Well, I don't really organize. I just kind of know where everything is. They're just in boxes. There's no catalog. There's no organization. I just know. Oh, if I'm looking for something, I think it's in that box over there. Let me see. Is it in this box? Nope. Maybe it's in this box. Oh, there it is. That's how I organize my collection. Do I have any busts? I don't really have a lot of busts. So do I have any busts you haven't seen? Probably not. I'm not really a bust kind of a guy. That sounds weird. Or maybe I am a bust kind of guy. I don't know, but I don't really have a lot of busts. I have masks. I have hundreds of masks, but I don't really have a lot of busts. Do I like Stranger Things? Yes. So no, I haven't I've only seen what episode am I on? I think I'm either 2 or 3, episode 2 or 3 of the, new season. So I haven't gotten through that yet, but I do like Stranger Things, yes. Um, The Ring, The Conjuring. So I saw The Conjuring. I haven't seen the sequels to The Conjuring. I saw the original, and I thought that was good, but I just haven't felt like seeing the, sequels. The Ring, I saw both the Japanese and the American one, and I like both of them. I think, even though the American one, I think, explained the concept and the story a little better, I preferred the original Japanese version of The Ring. I think that just the attitude or the atmosphere of the original, I preferred, but the American remake did explain the whole thing a little better. Will I be making any more videos for Top Stone Mask? Yeah, I would like to continue the Tomb of the Top Stone series. I mean, it's had a long hiatus while I've been doing Basement of Horror. Those videos were very difficult to make, but maybe with all my experience now making these Basement of Horror videos, maybe it would be a little easier. But they took a lot of time, and I remember at that time, now it's been a few years, it didn't seem like very many people really cared at the time. When I uploaded those Top Stone videos, they languished for years with just a couple hundred views. It just didn't seem like people were connecting with them. Now they've got more views, so probably people have seen my other videos on the channel, have then watched those videos. But so maybe there's more of an audience now. Part of the reason I had Mikey Severe paint the bridal skull and the devil, you might have seen those on my channel or in my Facebook group, was in preparation for doing a Tomb of the Top Stones videos that would feature those two. So I do hope to do more. I haven't decided whether to try to do Bleak Sunday again. I mean, I need to decide now because we probably should be working on it now, but there were some pros and cons about doing it last time. But I'm thinking if I go forward with Bleak Sunday again, that maybe Tomb of the Top Stones would be my contribution to that. I might make like 3 Tomb of the Top Stones videos and premiere those on Bleak Sunday, but I don't know if I'm going to do Bleak Sunday again. I'm still thinking about that. Okay, I've gotten lost again. Where am I here? Hello, Hawk Daddy. Nathaniel, well, my music is here on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist. I think it's called Synthesizer Recordings or something like that. So you can hear it all there. Facebook's really not the place to hear it. This YouTube channel is the place. Oh, Sada's got to go. Thanks for stopping by, Sada. Thank you very much. Have a good night. I would like to put music on Spotify or streaming services. I do want to, I don't want to just take them as they are and slap them on there. I do want to go back over some of those recordings and tweak them, adjust some things. But after I did that, I would like to launch a Spotify or some kind of streaming presence. I don't know how many people would listen, but it'd be nice to do that. So, but first, I do want to go back over the recordings, and for many of them, prep them a little bit for streaming. Maybe work on the mix or change a few things here and there. So I wouldn't want to just take them as they are and put them on Spotify. Well, thanks, AKH. Thank you for watching. Evil Eddie, am I into 80s heavy metal music? No. Merciful Fate, no. Even though I like Rob Zombie and I like Ghost and I like some acts like that, I'm really not a metal guy. I'm much more of a pop guy than a metal guy, which probably explains why I like Rob Zombie and Ghost, because they're as much pop as they are heavy metal. Or Alice Cooper, I mean, he's really pop. I mean, this they're kind of metal, but they're kind of pop. Oh, Adam is asking, is there any more movie making? Yes, well, I wish there were. I mean, I would have been making films for the last decade if I could, but it's yeah, it's very expensive, but also it's definitely a collaborative medium. So what I'm doing now, this is not collaborative. I can just sit here and just do this. I don't need anyone's permission. I don't need anybody's help. It's not a team effort. It's just me. I'm sitting here talking to you. Same thing with Basement of Horror, with the synthesizer videos, with everything I'm doing on my channel. I can just do it. I don't need to rally the troops. I don't need this big organizational effort. To make films, it is a collaborative medium. I mean, some people might think they can do it by themselves, but for my money, it takes a team, and that is just that's always been a problem for me. Maybe it's where I am. That could be part of it. Maybe it's who I am. Could be a lot of things. Could be just luck or fate. I don't know. But it's very hard to rally the troops and get the personnel that I need to do the kind of thing I'd want to do. So money and manpower are problems. If I could just make a movie, I would just make a movie. But at least the kind of thing I would want to do is not something I could just grab my iPhone and go make a movie. That said, I have been working on a documentary about the Piasa bird, and I've been doing it on my iPhone, doing interviews with people using just an iPhone. But even that has some obstacles that are hard to overcome. There are things I want to do with that documentary that require some money and cooperation from other people. It's hard to get people to do things. That's what it boils down to. It's hard to get other people to do things that I need done to accomplish a film. But I am working on that documentary, so hopefully I will get that done. But if it's, as long as it's just up to me, I can do it. When I have to depend on other people, that's when it becomes a problem. It's very hard to get people to come through. I don't have a bunch of money to hand out, and even if I do, even then it's not always, doesn't always work even when there is money involved. But particularly without money, it's just very hard to get cooperation and to find the right people to do what you need. Well, let's see. What else do we have here? Gonzalo. Hello. Greetings. Glad you are here. Let's see. What can we do here? Is there any other? Well, so I have a. Let me see what I have. Nothing really interesting to show you, but kind of a odd non-monster stuff. Something I've been getting into. I don't really buy a lot of non-monster toys, but I have been buying these. This is not what you would think I would buy, but stuff. Toy Island Pirates and Cowboys. I would like to assemble a set of these things. And there's some characters which are very difficult to find. Let's see here. Here's another one. So these were released in the United States, but there's some that were not released in the United States, and those are very, very hard to find. What else do we have here? Let's go. Okay, here's a pirate, and this was not released in the United States, this character. So the ones, I mean, they're all kind of hard to find. They're not expensive, but they're hard to find. So the reason I think that I'm kind of into these, so this one was released. These were released in the United States, these style. But it's because, that's enough of those. I have the monsters from this line. They made a vampire, a werewolf, and a zombie. So I have those. So because I had those, I wanted to get the rest. I want to get the cowboys and the pirates. And it's even though the monsters are supposedly a lot more hard to find, I've actually had an easier time, in a way, getting the monsters than these other ones. No, I was hearing some strange noises. It's just the chair. But so I've got the werewolf, the zombie, the vampire, but the pirates and cowboys that were not released in the United States, those are hard to find. So I'm trying to get those. And there was a set of Indians that I don't even know if those were made or I'm not sure if they were produced or not. And there's something else I might show you later. But so that's something odd. It's not monster related that I've been kind of. It's monster related because I have the monsters that I wanted these other ones, so that they'd all be together. What's this? Crazy YouTube name, Huck Daddy. It's your friend Paul Edward from Alton. Hello, Paul. So Paul, so you're in Alton. So what do you think of this Piasa bird documentary that I'm working on? I'm still trying to get interviews for that. The Piasa bird is in Alton. Brian, let's see. Asking about my future plans for my collection. Oh, and Sergeant X. Oh, I don't want to say that. Is this live or premiere? This is live. Let's see. But Brian is asking about my future plans for my collection. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm finding myself much less excited about collecting as time goes on, because I can see death looming closer and closer and closer, closer and closer. So if you knew you were going to die next week, you wouldn't go out and buy a bunch of toys, probably, because why? But so I hope I don't die next week, but I do think, like, okay, I've been collecting now for 30 years. Am I going to be alive another 30 years? I'm not sure. So, and the older I get, I start to think, what's my living situation going to be in 20 years or so? And so it begins to get to the point where having a big collection feels like a liability. And And also, well, you say, well, you could just sell it, right? Well, no, because once your generation's gone, the people who would be most interested in the stuff that you're interested in, the stuff you collect, there's fewer of those people around to buy it, which means the price goes meow. So I don't know, man. I don't know that I'd be able to sell this stuff in 20 years. Maybe not. I might be able to sell it in 5 or 10 years, but not 20 years because the audience might shrink and shrink and shrink because they enter retirement and they have fixed incomes or they die. So I am thinking like I don't feel like this is the time to explode my collection and get bigger and bigger and bigger. I feel like it's the time to be more selective and only buy things that are really important. And there's a lot of stuff, contemporary stuff I buy that really is only because I have a YouTube channel. If I didn't have the Basement of Horror show, I would not buy all these Mego figures if I didn't have this show. Uh, I'd buy some, but I would not have bought all the ones that I have. Many of them I bought because I feel like I need to show them on the program. And going forward, as I've said on my show, I'm not going to be buying every one. Like for instance, already I haven't bought I didn't buy the Nun, I didn't buy the Killer Clowns, and some other ones I haven't bought. Um, yeah, I think I'll try to focus more on vintage toys this coming year, as far as the show is concerned. Uh, but I'm feeling like I really don't need boxes and boxes of new toys. Like all the stuff that Super 7 comes out with and NECA. I'm seeing boxes piling up with NECA stuff and Super 7 stuff and Jada toys. I'm looking at them right here, these boxes. Like, I don't need all this. Half the reason for buying it is to use them on the show, either now or in the future. And I don't know. I don't feel like I need to stockpile every new monster horror toy that comes out. But there's some vintage things that I'd like to have. But even there, I'm very selective now about how much I spend. A lot of the stuff I would like to have is very expensive. I'm just not willing to spend that money. I mean, really cool stuff comes along, but it's hundreds or thousands of dollars. I'm not going to spend that. Whereas maybe 10, 20 years ago, I might have said, oh, yeah, and spent it. I'm not so willing to spend that now. I'm much more conservative about how much I spend on something. So even if something's $200 or $300 and someone says, wow, it's a good deal. Okay, great. You buy it. I'm just not like $200 or $300 still a lot of money. I'm thinking of all the bills I have to pay. Like, do I really want to spend? I could pay off a bill or I could buy this toy. I mean, so I'm getting a lot more conservative about what I spend and what I spend it on. So my collection is not really, I don't see it expanding in the years to come. I see it contracting or holding steady. Let's see. Oh, AKH, how do I decide on a hand motion when I say horror, basement of horror? That just happened. I don't even know how that came about. I guess it was the first. Did I do that the first episode? I don't know. Sometime in the first episode or two or three, it just came out that way. I think. I think. It was probably a lack of confidence in what I was doing. It's probably what it was. Probably not sure about the name. Not sure about any of the things I was doing, and so being kind of ironic about it. I think it's just ironic. Just like it's like horror hosts, like old horror hosts where they try to be spooky or scary. It's kind of like that, only it's ironic. And so it's like, ooh, horror, only it's deadpan like horror. It's hard to explain, but I thought it was funny. Um, So Hawk Daddy, no, I cannot will you the Telco Mummy. Evil Eddie. So you're talking about the Chupacabra that's like the battery operated one. It's like tall and walks. I think it makes sound. That's a pretty cool toy. Did I get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles monster figures? Uh, yeah, but I don't have the two most expensive ones. I don't have the Invisible Man, and I don't have the Metaluna Mutant. And the Invisible Man is just ridiculous on eBay. Gosh, I mean, he's like $7, $8, $900 on eBay, and it's not because he's rare. Because any any week of the year you go on eBay, you will find at least one carded Invisible Man turtle figure. So it's not rare at all. Usually there's more than one available. They're very available, and yet they're going for $700, $800, $900. So I am very reluctant to try to finish that set by blowing $1,000 on a turtle figure of the Invisible Man, especially when there's so many of them. It seems like the bubble's got to burst. It's not driven by rarity. If when it's purely demand driven, eventually the demand drops, and then you have all of these toys out there that people can't unload. Whereas when it's rare, it tends to hold its value more. Even if the demand diminishes, there never was enough supply to meet the demand anyway. So if it's truly rare, it'll tend to hold its value a little bit better. There's nothing rare about that figure, that Invisible Man figure. It's common, but it still goes for $1,000. And I'm very reluctant to put that kind of money out there for something that I know is plentiful. Metaluna Mutant isn't as expensive. But there again, just do I want to just to complete that set? Do I want to spend that money? I don't know. It would be nice to have a complete set. And I'd do an episode on it, but boy, those two remaining figures are so expensive. Let's see here. Nathaniel, who is my favorite composer next to Vangelis? Mike Oldfield. He's my second favorite composer, Mike Oldfield. Wyatt Allgood versus the internet. Sell them live. You mean my whole collection? No, I don't want to do that. Brian Ashmore, thanks for the thoughtful answer. Yeah, I just don't feel like years ago, I still had decades ahead of me. So why not buy everything I could buy? Now I have decades behind me, and I'm not sure how many I have ahead of me. So it just doesn't feel like it doesn't make sense to just buy up a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Daniel Cohen, he's limiting what he buys to 8-inch figures. You can't take them to the nursing home. Exactly. I can't take my collection to a nursing home. If I downsize into some little apartment, I can't take this collection with me. So I made a decision in the 90s. I was collecting everything. I was just a generalist, collecting, I don't know, superheroes, Barbie, TV character, you name it, whatever, Star Wars. And I decided to cut all that and just collect monsters, which was, I think, the right decision. I think a lot of collectors are like that. They start as generalists, and then at some point they decide what's really important, and they just focus on that. I think that's the best way to go. Focus on what's really important to you, and I don't know. Just do whatever gives you enjoyment. If being a generalist gives you enjoyment, great. For me, it was more enjoyable to cut all that and just focus on monsters. That's why it was very unusual to have those pirates and cowboys I just showed you, because I don't usually buy non-monster toys. So it's very odd that I'm buying those. But again, there's a connection because they're part of the same set as these monsters that I do have. So they're adjacent to those monsters. Um, Hawk Daddy's talking about a Passover link. I will look at that. If there's a Facebook link about a Facebook group about the Piasa, I'm probably already in it, but I'll take a look. Do I have color forms outer spacemen? No. Um, and that's a disappointment because in the 90s, I did have color forms aliens as a kid. In fact, I think my earliest toy memories are of color forms outer spacemen, or certainly among my earliest memories. So I had them as a kid. I had an Astronautilus that was a favorite toy of mine. I also had Alpha 7, and I think it was Zodiac was the other one, but I'm not sure. Um, but I liked them quite a bit. So in the 90s, I tried to start collecting them, and I bid on a number of carded sets back when you could still get an entire carded set for like $1,000. There was a number of times in auctions where I bid on a set of carded color forms aliens. I would get outbid or go up too high. I just couldn't do it. Now, of course, even one would be multi thousands of dollars, let alone a set. But back then, you could get the whole set for $1,000. And just like that, like the 12 back Star Wars figures, you could buy a whole set of those for $1,000 or less. Now, you couldn't barely buy one for that. So I tried to collect them back then. I just couldn't. I didn't have the money at the time to do it. But I did eventually get uh, an Alpha 7 on an open card and a Colossus Rex on a card with no bubble, but he had his weapon. And then I don't know if I had any. Oh, I had the Space Marauders Bendums, the two of the little ones on a card. So I had the beginnings of a color forms outer spaceman collection, but then I couldn't move forward. Everything was so expensive. I really wanted a nice mint carded set. I could not advance. I made a good start with some good pieces, but I couldn't move forward. So I sold what I had and had to just abandon ship. It wasn't going to happen. And now, the price of just one carded alien is thousands of dollars. So nope, I probably will never have that. And that's sad because those are part of my childhood. So it would be nice to have them in my collection. Oh, so Sergeant is talking about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from NECA. No, I was talking about the vintage ones. I've got all but those two vintage ones that are so expensive. But I don't have any of the new ones. I don't really want the new ones. Those don't interest me. If I were going to put money toward Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Universal Monsters, it would be to get those two vintage ones that I don't have, the Mutant and the Invisible Man. And it would cost me, I don't know, maybe $1,200, $1,500 in that range to get those two. And then I'd have the whole set. But am I ever going to spend that money? Probably not. But I would do that before I bought the new ones. The new ones don't interest me. I used to have a huge, huge, huge turtle collection. I had hundreds of carded turtles. You name it, I had it. Every time they came out with new turtles, I just bought it. I used to work at Target in the toy department right when these turtles were coming out. So I had all the turtles. I would just every time a new box of turtles, I would just buy it. Every new character. And I held on to those for years and years and years and years. And finally I sold them all. And nobody wanted them back then. You could barely give them away. Nobody wanted them. Now they're like $200 or $300 each. But at that time, nobody wanted them. But I think when I sold those off, I kept that Universal Monsters set, but I sold everything else. I said, I'm done with turtles. So RV collects. Am I at the point where I have everything I really want? Um, yeah, there's a few, like with my Azrac Hamway, I sold a few of those, like my carded Hardhead, Mummy, Wolfman, Dracula. I kept the Frankenstein, but they priced themselves out of my collection. They got to the point where I was getting offered so much I couldn't afford to keep them. I was getting offered, God, many, many thousands of dollars each, and to the point where I couldn't sit on them anymore. So I still have my colored body Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy on cards, and I have the Hardhead Frankenstein on a card. I have my wide waist creature on a card. So I have a nice little set, but I sold my carded thin waist creature, jointed wrist, Frankenstein, Dracula, the what we now would call the Soma set, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy. I had like 20 carded Ahais, and I just whittled it down to that one set of each character plus that extra Frankenstein. So wouldn't it be nice to have those back? I had them for years and years and years. No, I would never spend the tens of thousands of dollars it would take to get them back. For my Lincoln set, I've never owned a Mr. Rock. I would like to have a Mr. Rock someday. That would be nice. Carded would be nice, but I think that's no longer in the cards, just from the price. But a Mr. Rock to go with my other Lincoln monsters would be nice. I would like to have that. There's still several Topstone masks I would like to have, and also some masters, like the original masters that were used to make the molds. I have a few of those. I'd like to have a few more. So there's some Topstone stuff I would still like to have. But my passion for some of that, it has decreased because I have quite a bit, and the stuff I don't have is so expensive that I'm just not willing to make the sacrifice to try to get them. I don't have the economic power to do that. Like the Tomlin glow monsters, like the glow in the dark. I would particularly like to have the Yeti on the glow monster card. That's thousands of dollars. And of course, I'd like to have I have a loose mummy. Nice to have a carded mummy. I love the Wolfman from that set. I love all those things, but they're thousands of dollars each. That we all know that Dracula, Tomlin Glow Dracula, sold for $20,000, and that's kind of what you're looking at with some of those. So that's not going to happen. So it's not that I'm trying to get those. Those are such a fantasy. It's like asking, would you like to be elected president or whatever? It's just a fantasy. It's not a goal. And a goal is something realistic that you really want to achieve. Tomlin glow monsters on cards is a fantasy. That's not going to happen. Even loose, it's very difficult to imagine owning any more than I already have. So I'm at the point in my collection where the stuff I don't have is so unobtainable that it feels like just make-believe to even think I'm going to have it. So, I don't know if that answers your question. So AA, would I consider having another guest on the show? Yes. Yeah. My friend Andy Williams, he would be very doable to go to his house and do a show, And at first he didn't want to, then he did want to, and I'm not sure where he's at with that right now. But that would be the most easy one to do because I can just drive there and do it. My friend Matt Jaycox is interested in having an episode at his house in Chicago. That would require some logistical planning to go to Chicago to do that, but I would be interested in that. He's interested in doing that. I would be interested in doing that. And there's some other people that it would be nice to. So yeah, I would like to do more of that. And if anything, it might be nice to go more towards that direction and less of me just sitting here. I do like some of the remote stuff. I'm not sure that the viewers like the remote stuff because when I do like a toy show or a trade show or something that's outside of just sitting here, it doesn't get as many views as me just sitting here. So I'm not sure if the audience wants that, but I'm interested in doing more shows that take me out of the basement and maybe even transitioning to the point where more often than not, I'm outside the basement. So Rob, hello, Rob. Do I still go to conventions? No, not really. Because COVID, really, no one's been going to conventions until recently. At this point, would I go to a convention? I'm not worried about COVID anymore as far as conventions are concerned. So that's not why. Billy has a lot to do with me not going to conventions because I give Billy, my cat Billy, 2 pills a day. And I watch his diet and everything. I watch him very closely. And I don't have anyone else to do that. And some people have suggested, well, you can get cat nurses to come to your house. That will just freak him out if some stranger comes to the house and tries to stick something in his mouth. So I feel like I'm kind of grounded. There's the person who gave me the Dark Shadows model. I would like to visit her. She's in the Northeast. I'd like to visit my friend Matt in Chicago. I'd like to, if Horror Hound in Indianapolis gets back up and running, I'd like to go to that again. It'd be nice to go to like Monster Palooza in Burbank or wherever that is now. So there's a lot. Yeah, I'd like to get around, but money is an issue. But also, I'm just not sure who is going to take care of my cat. I'm very worried about leaving him for several days because how could I have fun knowing that he's not feeling good? And if I don't give him this medication, after a couple of days, he won't be feeling good. So if I can solve that issue, I might get out more. But right now I'm kind of homebound because I need to take care of him. Let's see here. Barbarossa, that link equals Voice Raiders 1991. Twilin talking. So Barbarossa, what link are you talking about? I don't know. But I know the toy you're talking about. So Sergeant is asking me, do I like video games? No, not really. Okay, let's see here. Oh, Hawk Daddy's asking about like Telco Motion Nets. I don't really actively collect those anymore. I have a pretty modest collection of those, but I do have a few. Those are just, they're so, first of all, they got to a point where they just went way up in price. Years ago, I was trying to get a Telco Devil, and you couldn't touch one for less than a couple of grand. I didn't want to spend that kind of money on on EmotionNet. I've never spent that kind of money on EmotionNet. So, like the Devil, the Gorilla, some other rare ones, I couldn't. If I could have gotten those some years ago, I might have proceeded to continue to collect a roadblock when I got to some of these more expensive characters. I couldn't proceed any further. But I think prices maybe have come down a little bit. It would still be nice to have a Devil and a Gorilla and a couple others, but I'm not spending thousands of dollars. My days of spending thousands of dollars on anything are pretty much done. I mean, I could count on one hand the number of things that I would spend 1,000 or more to get, the number of toys. Just I'm not, my priorities are different. It does not feel responsible to spend thousands of dollars on a toy. It just doesn't make sense anymore. So, I mean, if I could get some of this stuff for a few $100s, maybe I would, but thousands, no. Let's see here. Okay, talking about video games. No, I don't play video games at all. It's just not part of my life. I play no video games. Do I collect movie posters? Not actively so much anymore. I used to be much more into that. But yes, I have a movie poster collection, and I still do occasionally buy posters. Not as I used to be really hot and heavy into that. I think a couple things happened. Like a lot of these other things, it got to the point where the posters I wanted were thousands of dollars, and I just couldn't. I reached a block where I wasn't willing to spend that kind of money. But also, I couldn't keep track of what posters I did or did not have. So I would buy posters that I already had, thinking I didn't have them yet. And then I would pass on posters thinking I had them when in fact I didn't have them. And I was all confused. I was buying stuff I already had and passing on things I didn't have because I couldn't keep straight what I had and what I didn't have. And when that happened, I said maybe I should just step back from the poster stuff, because like a toy, I can open a box. Oh, here's this toy. But the posters, they're all in, the folded ones are all stacked up in boxes, and the rolled ones are all in tubes. It's hard to get to them and see, okay, I have this. So it was hard to keep them straight. AKH really liked my Transworld video. Thank you. There are pet-friendly Airbnbs I could book and take Billy with me. Oh, now you're traveling with Billy. Oh, gosh. I don't think that would go so well. I think it would freak him out, stress him out. I'm reading Penny's message here. I would sure like to visit you in haunted New England. That's for sure. So you're communing via. I'm afraid I'm going to get sucked into this Ouija board, and I'm going to materialize where you are, and then I'm going to be like trapped. Uh-oh. But I would sure like to visit you. And Commandi 10. If you ever downsize, you'll need to create a set that corner. Oh, if I go to a new house. Okay. Yeah, this is not constructed. This is authentic 1970s wood paneling from the 70s. This is not like fake stuff. Oh, what's happening in my hair? There we go. Let's see here. Hawk, I've never paid more than 500 for a telco. Yeah, so I think that's what happened. The Hawk, the early 2000s or the mid 2000s. I think that's when I got scared off of telco because just the prices went nuts. So maybe I should look at it again. Um, but really, I put on the brakes because there's a. I think it's more that I really really wanted a devil. I just could not get. I wanted a boxed devil. I didn't care what variant. I just wanted a devil, and I tried and tried. And I could not get one. And I think that's kind of that rubbed me the wrong way. And I also tried to get a gorilla, and I couldn't get a gorilla. And after a few of those, there was a couple of years there where I just couldn't get them anymore. They just prices went nuts, and I think I said whatever and just walked out. Uh, Dan would like to see some posters. Well, maybe eventually I can do something like that, but like I said earlier, that the format of the show doesn't really lend itself to posters. AKH, I can identify with what you're saying about your dog. Um, it seems like there's interest in a poster video. So I can't quite pronounce your name. You're Toy, or Toi Toy. But you love my music. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you very. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Um, so the sergeant's talking about French posters. Big French. I mean, I've got. I have the original. I'm talking like the Grand French Grands or Grande, whatever they're called. I have like Eyes Without a Face, which is a pretty big poster, and I've also got the smaller poster for that movie. I've got the Belgian Curse of the Werewolf, where he's like that. It's got that really kind of pop art look. Uh, so I got a few French posters, not a lot though. Roy, did you ever get into collecting VHS, Laserdisc, home media? I've got not a lot. I have a few VHS. I've got like something weird Coffin Joe VHS. I'm only missing a couple of those. Um, I started getting into. I mean, I just started getting into Blood Island VHS releases. I'd like to eventually get all the Blood Island stuff on VHS. But that was a lot of the Blood Island films were released very late. I don't want those like the late '90s VHS. I don't want that. I want the early ones and the bigger packages. Um, I've got Shriek of the Mutilated on VHS. I mean, there's a few. So I'm yeah, I've kind of dipped into that a little bit, but I don't have a comprehensive VHS collection by any means. But Coffin Joe, Blood Island, Shriek of the Mutilated, just the stuff I like. I'd like to have. Well, I have almost all the Coffin Joe stuff on VHS. I'm just starting with Blood Island. And I don't know. I think there's still good prices to be found on that, but not for much longer. That stuff is going up. But so I have a little bit of that. Let's see. Sergeant's talking about the wood paneling. Eddie. Oh, here's an interesting question. A few of my masks are dry rotting. Is there any way to prevent this for future mask purchases? Makes me not want to buy masks anymore. They tend to dry rot after a few years. Yes. So this is a good question. I mean, not everyone's questions are good, but this is like a kind of a meat and potatoes kind of question that might take a little bit of time to answer. So yeah, yes, that I've had that problem, of course, collecting top stones, particularly the '80s top stones. In fact, I was talking to my friend Andy. I was at his house a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me, "Do you still collect 80s Topstones?" And I thought there was sounded like there was a reason he was asking. I said, "Yeah," and it was sort of, "So are you asking because they rot?" He said, "Yes, that's kind of why he was asking." So, um, the 80s Topstones, I don't really buy them very much anymore because they rot. The 50s, 60s, 70s Topstones don't rot. If they haven't rotted yet and you take care of them, they tend to stay as they are. But the 80s, 90s Topstones rot. Um, I For a while I was foaming every mask I got. Either I foamed it myself or I had someone else foam it. And so at least that would hold it would hold its shape, but it would still discolor. It would turn hard and would turn brown, the 80s ones. Not the early masks, the 80s ones or 90s. So at least they would hold their shape, but there was a lot of them became discolored. So I started instead stuffing them with plastic bags because I heard some people say that that kept them soft. And it does seem like by and large, stuffing them with plastic bags will keep something. Maybe it's a chemical reaction, but it seems like it does keep them supple more than like other ways you could store them. So that's more like I haven't been foaming them lately. I've been stuffing them tightly with plastic bags, and that seems to be doing well. Although even then, like I know there was a video I did on Topstone masks. I might have been my first season, and some of those I don't have anymore because they rotted. There was one that just crumbled to nothing. That's in that video, and it was fine then. And then like a year or two later, I looked at it; it was just completely destroyed. So it is disheartening. I can see why you wouldn't want, like, I don't spend big bucks on masks anymore. I won't do it because they're perishable. And you're spending a lot of money on something where you have no guarantee that it's going to be around a year from now. You can't control it. Um, but you can if you have access to someone who can foam the mask, or if you're able to do that yourself. If it's important, foam it. Foam that mask. It won't stop it from being discolored. It might still turn brown. It might still turn hard, but at least it'll keep its shape. It won't crumble to nothing. So I haven't foamed a mask in a long time because I developed asthma. And I wonder if maybe that's why, because I was foaming masks and inhaling that. Because I never had problem with asthma before in my life. And then in my middle age, suddenly I have asthma. What happened? So that kind of put me off of foaming. But I was thinking about maybe foaming something this summer. I mean, I have a backlog of all kinds of Topstones I'd like to foam, but I don't know. I hear you when you say that they rot. They absolutely rot. All I can tell you is the earlier ones don't rot as they're not as likely to rot. If it was made in the 50s or 60s or 70s, and if it still survived to now, it's probably going to survive another 10 years. So if you get the older ones, foam them, they'll probably stay okay. The later ones, 80s, 90s, those will rot because they just weren't made as well. The rubber, I don't know what they were doing with that rubber, but the whatever compound they were using, maybe it had additives. I don't know, but they just don't last like the old ones do. I have masks from the 50s that are like new. The later ones, they rot. Oh, let me see here. Pat, I have a huge collection of 12-inch sideshow. Yeah, I mean, I have practically every 12-inch sideshow monster ever made. Yeah, I'll do an episode. I'm kind of dreading that because it's going to be a long episode. Like you say, it's probably 2 parts, and just oh boy, I'm not taking anything out of the box. Well, no, I have a lot of sideshows that I've taken out of the box. I used to always buy 2. I'd buy 1 to keep in the box and 1 to display. So I have several out of the box sideshows, so I could show those, but all big and small. I have basically every single Universal sideshow monster they made. Big, small, little, big head. I don't have the premium format. I didn't get into that. With the articulated ones, I have pretty much everything they ever made. I'll do maybe that'll be like the series finale. Maybe that'll finish it off. I don't know, because it'd be hard to do that because there's just so many of them. I don't know. So Sergeant, I like a gallery style walkthrough of my poster collection. Not gonna lie. But would that, I don't know, would that be fun for, but that would be different. I mean, that would not be like an episode, would it? So Hawk Daddy said, yeah, now about this, okay, let's talk about that. That what I used to say at the end of the episode was, the one who dies with the most toys is dead. And then I stopped, and now I'm saying that Basement of Horror will return. Okay, so I stopped saying that the one with most toys is dead because a few things. First of all, I saw that Analog Toys was saying, I don't know if he still does, but he was saying he who dies with the most toys wins. And I didn't want to be perceived as copying him. I mean, he had the bigger channel and more people watching, so people would think I was copying him, not the other way around. I mean, I don't think he was copying me. No. But I mean, people would see my channel and say, oh, he's doing what Analog Toys does. So I didn't want to be perceived as copying what he was doing. And he was just saying the line straight. He who dies with the most toys wins. I changed it. First of all, I started with he who dies. It just wasn't rolling off the tongue very well. But I also, I wanted it to be gender neutral. I didn't want it. So I said the one who dies. But it's still kind of awkward to say. But I felt like it summed up my feelings about collecting. As we've been talking about, death is coming, retirement is coming, poverty is coming, disaster is coming, and all this stuff is just going to be at some point a liability, really. Just at some point your collection starts to weigh on you and crush you, and it starts to not be fun anymore. And then you face with how do you unload all this? And else just as a value, they're just stuff. It's just plastic. It's just junk. It's not what's ultimately important. I think people get obsessed with it. Certainly I did at some point in my life. So I thought that was important to say the one who dies with most toys is dead. You can't take it with you. It's just junk. It's just stuff. And your family doesn't want this stuff. You're going to put them in a situation where they have to unload it. But I stopped saying that line at the end. I started saying Basement of Horror will return. I'm a James Bond fan. I never talk about it. I don't make that part of my public persona, but I'm a huge James Bond fan. So that was kind of my way of getting that part of me in there. Since I'm not going to do episodes on James Bond, but that was like my little way of getting something James Bond related into the show. But it doesn't really work, and I'm not crazy about that catchphrase at the end of the show. So I'm open to suggestions of what to say at the end of the episode. I know Danielle had this issue with her podcast, what to say at the end. I mean, I could go back to the one who dies with the most toys is dead, but I don't know. I'd like to have, nothing quite feels right. I don't want to just say bye. I want, something catchy. So if someone has suggestions, what can I say at the end of the show? Let me know. Let me know your suggestions. Do I cosplay? No. I used to, and I sure did Coffin Joe many times. I went to conventions as Coffin Joe. I would walk around saying Coffin Joe stuff. Yeah, I definitely dressed up as Coffin Joe several times. I used to do that a lot. but I haven't done that in a long time. But I used to do other not as much, but a little bit of other cosplaying too. I haven't really thought about doing any cosplay going forward. I'm not sure if I really have a passion for any particular cosplay these days. First of all, I used to be a lot thinner. I have quite the dad bod now, which doesn't lend itself to some of these characters, which tend to be very thin. And if I'm going to do a cosplay, I really want to nail it. I want to look just like the character. So I don't know. It's a weird choice. There's two. I'm not going to do either of these, but two things come to mind. One is a character called Judix, Judex. In a tuxedo with bird head, a bird head. I actually looked at bird heads, and they're expensive. The good ones that would look like his are expensive. But I thought about doing a cosplay as Judix. But he's very thin, and if I were going to do that, I would want to lose weight and try to embody that. He's also very tall. I'm short, so I don't know. The other one is Peter Lorre in what's the name of that one? Oh gosh, Mad Love. Why does that not sound right? That's the title, right? Mad Love, where he's got the neck brace and the goggles and the hat and I think he's got gauntlets or some kind of metal hands and a cloak, and I really like that look. I'm not going to go through the trouble of making that, but in my fantasy, that would be a nice costume to do, to go to a convention with the goggles and the hat and the brace. And I wouldn't try to act like Peter Lorre because I can't do his voice, but that I kind of see that that character would be cool. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so RB is talking about the fact that today's toys there's nice that there's so many, but and I've talked about this before, they're all aimed at us, at adult collectors. And this is definitely a thing with me. A lot of the joy of collecting is gone as far as modern collecting. A lot of it just isn't fun. And part of the reason is these toys are not toys. I'm a toy collector. And that means that a toy is made for kids. A toy is made for kids to play with. A toy is made for little kids' eyes to light up and get excited and say, oh, mommy, daddy, get me that toy, and open it up and play with it. That's a toy. That's what I collect. And almost everything today is made for adults, adult collectors. And it's just not, it's a different genre. I collect it because I almost feel like I have to. Like, how can I not collect this stuff? But it's not the same. Lately, I've been buying some of those little stretchy monsters that they sell at dollar stores. Unfortunately, they don't sell them in my region. I only get them if a friend buys them for me in other parts of the country where they sell them. But I like them because, and they're on eBay. You can get them on eBay, but then you have to pay up for them then. But I like them because they're for kids. They're not for adults. They're for children. They're actual toys. And so that interests me, the fact that they're made for kids. These little stretchy monsters. I should have brought some out to show you. That would have been a nice thing for show and tell. But they made so many of them. They've already made, like, I don't know, 200 or something. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but like maybe close to 100. They've made so many of them, and keep putting them out. I can't keep up with that, and I don't try. But those are fun. I like those. But a lot of this modern stuff, like I was watching um what's the channel? Open by Chance. He's been posting on in our Facebook group lately, and he was showing his Joker statues, and that's cool. I can appreciate that. But I would never buy that because it's too serious. It's too adult. It's just for me. There's no joy in it. There's no fun. It's just it's for grown-ups. I'm not a grown-up. I'll never be a grown-up. Um, and I don't want grown-up stuff. I want toys. So I wouldn't. Like I didn't buy the sideshow premium format figures. I bought the creature and I sold it. Like I kept it for like 90 days, and I said I don't really want this. Or maybe it was 6 months, and I sold it. It was just big. It was taking up a lot of space. And I just, why do I have this? It didn't bring me any joy. So out it went. And that's the way a lot of the stuff is. Like the Migos, I'm buying the Migos because there's something about those Migos that still sort of, I can imagine a kid maybe playing with them. I know they're not made for kids. And the NECA stuff, is it made for kids? Super 7, it looks like it's made for kids, but it's not really made for kids. Um, so I don't know. It's not, kids don't play with this stuff. So it wouldn't make any sense to make it for kids because they don't want this stuff. So I don't know. I'm more interested in vintage than new toys because vintage toys are actually toys. And I like toys. This adult stuff is a different genre and it's just not that fun. Okay, let's see here. JC, you're welcome. Thank you. AKA, thank you very much. Count snakes don't die before collecting what you want. I gotta die sometime. Pat Sparks from Russia with Love is your all-time favorite Bond movie. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is my favorite Bond movie. And now, Count Stankus, that almost sounds like a Bond title. Don't die before collecting what you want. That's a little long for a Bond title. You have to shorten it a little bit, but that almost has the sound of a Bond title. Danielle, thanks for all you do. Thank you very much. Matthew, everyone's thanking me. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Sergeant, have I ever collected books? No, like as a category. Um, Oh, you saw the Divine Comedy for $1,600? Oh, wow. So I have a friend named Jenny who has an incredible book collection. And so what I know about book collecting kind of comes from her. And she has amazing, amazing books. And she's very serious about book collecting. I've never been a book collector. And I don't read nearly as much as I'd like to. I have cataracts. I was born with them, so I don't see very well. And you can see on my show, I'm always, got my trying to see. Part of that is because I can't see. I mean, if I'm trying to examine something, it's like because I literally can't see. But so sometimes it takes a little bit of the fun out of reading, like. But I just bought some new reading glasses. I had some and they broke. I bought some new ones. So I had intended to do some reading this summer, just like I intended to build a model this summer. And I have so many things I want to do over the summer, as if it were summer break, or I was a kid on summer break. I still have to work just like I normally do, but that would be nice to do some reading this summer. But book collecting, the ones I would want are so much money. I don't know. Just I feel like if I were going to get into that, I should have started 30 years ago. It's a little late. Anything I can think of that I would want would just cost so much money. I don't know. It's such a specialized area. I don't really want to start a new collecting genre. It's such a learning curve to get into a new collecting area. And I just don't have the money to throw around because you always take a beating. Whenever you start collecting a new thing, you're going to get ripped off. You're going to lose money. You're going to have problems in the early days until you kind of know what you're doing. And I don't want to do. I would end up buying a lot of books that overpaying for a lot of stuff or getting things that I thought were one thing and I get them and it turns out there's something else. And so I guess the answer is no, I don't collect books. So let's see. Oh, so Stankus is saying that maybe my ending line should be, don't die before collecting what you want. Sometimes you can't help when you die. I don't know. I mean, thank you for the suggestion. That I need more suggestions. Any chance my dad or brother will stop by the show? No, I try to keep that separate. I don't know what. So my brother doesn't live close by. I once tried to get my niece. She was sitting in this chair, and I said, "Why don't we do like an episode? And you can sit there and talk." And she didn't want to do it. But I was. I think she was talking about Monster High dolls or something like that. And I thought, well, we could shoot it. We could do an episode. And she was thought about it, like, nah, I don't think so. But my dad would I don't know what he would say on here. So Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah, I know a lot of people like those. I've never wanted to collect trading cards. If I did, it would probably be some monster cards. I don't know. I like Mars Attacks cards are cool, but those are a lot of money. Probably anything I'd want to collect would be a lot of money. Let's see here. Well, I wanted to hold on a minute. Let me show you something that is not monster related. Okay, I've got 44 people watching. This is Bob. That's Bob. So this is my pet rock from childhood. I've had Bob since elementary school. I don't know how old I was when I got Bob. I don't know, 7, 8 years old, maybe, something like that. So Bob was my pet rock. And it's not monster related, but I thought about doing an episode about Bob. And pet rocks and stuff. So maybe this is the place to talk a little bit about. Where I put Bob? Right there. Talk a little bit about this. Let's just look at a few things here. Not monster related, but this might be a good place to do it. So how many people remember these? Anybody? There was a time in the 70s where people purchased rocks as pets, and I had pet rocks. That's what it looks like in there. And there's a little booklet. And this is like the care of your pet rock. It tells you how to take care of your pet rock. See, there it is, petting the rock. It's all about how to take care of your rock. And I had, these are not, this is not from my childhood, but I had official and unofficial pet rocks. Here's another one. That straw is the bed. Because, of course, you know, the rock has to have a bed to sleep on. And I had a pet rock pendant that was on a chain that came in a box like this. And his name was Brutus. And I couldn't find him. I was looking for him a few weeks ago and I couldn't find him. But I found these. So these boxed ones I bought as a collector, I think in the 90s probably. So these were not childhood ones. But, you know, this is how they came. So a wild rock is, these are official pet rocks, but a wild rock is one you find in the wild. So if you just go out in your yard and you get a rock, that's a wild rock. So the official guys in these boxes say, don't take wild rocks and try to make them pets, because you can't tame a wild rock. You can't domesticate them. Well, Bob was a wild rock. Now, I don't remember where I got him. I think it was the yard across the street. I'm not sure. I think my friend who lived across the street gave me Bob. It was like a gift. And we were both in, like, I don't know, 3rd grade or something. I think that's how I got Bob. So Bob was a wild rock, but I successfully tamed this wild rock. It's like breaking in a wild horse. And I domesticated this rock. And I trained him very well. And he was my buddy. This is Bob. He was my buddy all through childhood, just like my Azrak Hamway creature and all these other toys that I talked about. This was important, this little rock. This was important. I would take him to school. I would take him, when I went to Egypt as a kid, I took him with me to Egypt. He was always with me, and he's still with me to this day. Now, one day, my dad, when I was a kid, threw him away. He was, I don't know, cleaning up the house, and he just saw this rock, and so he threw him away. And I lost my mind. I was bawling and just crying my eyes out. My mother was like holding me and saying to my dad, like, "Why did you throw that rock away?" And my dad was like, "It's a rock. What are you talking about?" So my dad had to go outside. The trash truck hadn't come yet. He had to dig through the trash and dump it out and dig around. And finally he was able to find Bob. And the whole time I'm watching him and I'm just crying. And finally he found Bob, and I was like, my Bob, I'm reunited with Bob. I was so upset. And Bob still has, like, I don't know if you can see, there's like some dark marks on Bob. That's from being in the trash. He didn't have those dark little spots before he was in the trash. So he bears the scars of that adventure to this day. That evening he spent in the trash. So I was very serious about that pet rock, and he's still here. So he's one of those things that will stay with me forever, just like some of my treasured childhood toys. Now, another thing, as a child, there were vending machines, and there was a particular store when I would visit my grandmother, or my grandparents. But my grandmother would take me to this store that had vending machine. I think it was like a grocery store. It had a vending machine that had pet rocks in it. And I remember these rocks had little eyes glued to them, and they came in a little plastic capsule, and it had little like the straw you saw. It had straw inside the little clear plastic capsule. You pop that open, you had to take the rock, had eyes, and they had the straw in there. And I had one of those, and I don't have him anymore. But for years and years and years, I had it. I was wondering, did I just dream that? Because I would ask experts on vending machine displays, have you ever seen this pet rock vending machine display? And they said, no, I've never seen it. I've never heard of that. And just a few weeks ago, I finally found it. So that's the vending machine display. That was the card in the machine when I was a little kid. That was it. So I haven't seen this since I was a little kid. And I remember this vending machine and putting the money in, and one of these kinds of rocks coming out with the eyes on it, and being so excited about that little rock with the eyes. And it was very important in my childhood. Not as important as Bob. No, but important nonetheless. So I was excited to get that a few weeks ago. And that was not thousands of dollars. That was just a few bucks. But this is what brings me joy. Not spending $1,000 on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Invisible Man, but finding something from a piece of my childhood that I haven't seen since the 1970s for just a few bucks. And as chance would have it, often when something like that comes along, something else comes right away. I mean, it's like when you've been looking for something forever and you finally find it. I've found that a lot of times then something else that you've been looking for will come up at the same time. So there was I guess it must have been, when was Jimmy Carter running for president? That was 76, right? I think so. Yeah. So during that, if you were not around then, you probably don't know that Jimmy Carter, he won the presidency in 76. He was a peanut farmer. And that was a big part of his public persona. It was all about peanuts. I'm talking about like Planters peanuts, the nut that you eat, peanuts. And so there's all this merchandise about like peanuts with grins, because Jimmy Carter was always grinning. So you could go to the store and find all this peanut stuff, like banks and plastic peanuts and things, and ceramic peanuts that had grins. Well, I had this memory of going to Venture, which is a store that's not around anymore. Venture, which is kind of like similar to Target. It had like black and white stripes on its logo. Some people might remember Venture stores. And it was up in seems like it was the seasonal area near the front of the store. I don't know what we were doing there, but I was there with my dad, and they had pet peanuts. It was a little peanut shell in a box with air holes, kind of like this. Only it was not pet rock, it was a pet peanut. And I remember on the box, it said, "Mr. President, what would you do without us peanuts?" And inside, there was a little instruction book, just like the pet rock, and just this dried up little peanut shell, a real peanut shell with like a smile drawn on it. And I don't know I think it was like $7 or $8 in 1976. So it was a very expensive peanut. And I wanted it because I had pet rocks. I was into pet rocks, and I already had Bob, and I wanted the pet peanut. And my dad, of course, said, I'm not going to spend all that money on a peanut. Come on. So I was like, Wah! I think I was sitting in the cart in the seat in the car, like, I want a pet peanut. And I remember to this day being pushed away from that pet peanut, getting further away, and not being able to buy this peanut shell. And just, I want a pet peanut. Okay, so decades later, I'm still thinking about this pet peanut. I had never seen one. And I thought, again, like, did I dream that? Was that real? And so at the same time, I got that card you just saw miraculously on eBay. Pet peanut appears. And I was so surprised at how accurate my memory was. There it says, Mr. President, without us peanuts, where would you be? So almost exactly like what I remembered as a little kid. I don't even know could I even read? I must have at that time because I read this. I don't think my dad read that to me. And there's this, just like I remembered, there's that peanut smiling. It says fragile. Now it doesn't have the air holes like I remember. Oh yes, it does. There it is. It does. So that part of my memory is accurate too. So it's interesting to compare my memory to the reality. When I have these fuzzy childhood memories and I finally see the real thing or see a picture of it or something, how accurate was my memory? And there's like the instructions. Here's the peanut guide. And there's some snarky stuff. I don't even want to read it. There's some snarky stuff that is very un-PC that I might get in trouble. Some very snarky stuff in this guide. And then here's the peanut. And you can just barely see how there was at some point something drawn on him, but it's worn off. But when he was new, he would have had a smile or a grin crudely drawn on him. But it's worn off over the years. So finding that was a big deal. It's not a monster toy, but big deal to just find those pieces of my childhood. And that's something that gives me joy. Just stuff that was important when I was a kid, I still have. Stuff that relates to when I was a kid, and these fuzzy memories of things that I haven't seen since they were in stores, and then finally see them again. That's what collecting is all about. So that's more fun than like a multi-$1,000 who knows what. So now let's go back to the questions. See what we got here. How old is Bob in rock years? I don't know. He's probably millions of years old. Put on your mood rings while talking about pet rocks. I don't have any mood rings. I don't know if I ever had a mood ring. I certainly saw them. I was kind of fascinated by them. I don't know that I ever actually had one. Masked Mutant, will we be seeing a return of the Tomb of the Tops? Yeah, I hope so, yeah. Oh, so the fun stuff, pet ghost. I have a pet ghost in the box. So Count Stankus is, I think you're suggesting another line in the show. Collect the devil before he collects you, but in Lugosi's voice. I don't think I'm going to try that. So let's see. So we've had a lot of good non-controversial questions. I was afraid everyone wanted to like talk about tops or something, you know. But luckily we've had good fun questions that are not about that stuff. So let's okay, so we've been on for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think it's probably time to start bringing it in for a landing. So if you have any final questions, let's have a final round of questions or discussion topics, and then we'll wrap it up. So any final thoughts? Well, I think maybe when I started talking about pet rocks, a lot of people may have taken a snack break, which I kind of expected, but it was a way to get that in there anyway, because I wouldn't do a Basement of Horror episode about that, but I figured this was a an excuse to get that in there. Any final thoughts? Any final questions? And then we'll wrap up this evening. Let's see. Ah, hello, Bernardo from Mexico. Thank you. So, Bernardo, do you collect Mexican, well, toys of any kind, but particularly Mexican monster toys? Because there's quite a bit of stuff in Mexico. I don't have a lot myself, but I certainly see it online, and it fascinates me. I'd like to know more about Mexican monster toys. I have a chupacabra, and I have a few other things. I have a fair number of El Santo action figures and toys based on El Santo. I'd like to have more stuff like that. And then Count Stankus, will there be more videos on vintage Halloween candles? No, I think that no, I think I did everything I can do with that. That was a pretty comprehensive video on girly Halloween candles. I don't know what else I can say about them. But I'm definitely fascinated by Mexican horror monster toys, particularly like blow molded toys and stuff like that. Boy, Roy enjoyed the bonus pet rock episode. Well, thank you. I'm glad someone did. What else could? Oh, now Bernardo, was that creature from the Black Lagoon? Was that the big one, like the big blow molded one? It has like the chain on his ankle. Those used to be very easy to find, and then they just dried up. Now you can't find them. Now they're very expensive now, but they came in all these different colors. It was really cool. How about? Well, let me ask everyone out there. What are you trying to collect? Let me know. What kind of stuff are you, like, new toys or old? What's interesting to you? Like what's caught your fancy right now? What like I guess it'd be easiest just to mention from like what's new. What are the new toys you're excited about? But also old stuff. Let me know what is exciting you. A Bilko haunted house. No, I don't have one of those. It's good to see you, Count Stakus. So Bernardo, this creature you had, it was rubber. So the one, I think I know the one you're talking about. There's several rubber creatures in Mexico that are based on the Aurora model kit, and they have two arms up. But I think I've seen the one you're talking about that has one arm up. Did it have plastic eyes or painted eyes? And was it really big or small? Oh, so the SDCC thing poster art figure. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. I'd want to see one. I don't know. I think I need to see it in person before I would buy. I get what you're talking about. It's got the plastic rays coming out of it. Does it light up too? I think it lights up. So you took the family to see the film on the big screen. I've heard a lot of complaints about the thing, the Fathom Events screening of the thing. That it's blurry, that it's the aspect ratio is wrong. I think they fixed the aspect ratio, but how did it look? Did it look sharp? Were you satisfied with the presentation? It's been kind of controversial that people say it doesn't look right. George, about Robert Shaw starring in Shark is Broken. Yes, I've definitely heard of that. I'd like to see it. I heard that it is coming to the United States. I don't know if I'll play anywhere near me, but I have heard that it is coming to the United States sometime soon. So I would like to get a chance to see that. And I've always thought it would be nice to make a movie about the making of Jaws. That the making of Jaws would be in itself a fascinating film. So I'm wondering if this play might be an excuse to make a movie, and maybe that's a way in for someone to make a film about the making of Jaws, base it on this play. But I would like to see that play at some point. Mass Mutant is talking about animatronics. So I never know whether to call that company Gemmy or Gemmy. I think it's Gemmy. But I know there's a bug flying around me. I know I know that company and this the kind of stuff you're talking about. Cause they used to see them a lot at like Spirit Halloween store, and you probably still see stuff like that. But old Distortions Unlimited masks. So those can get expensive, the vintage ones. Yeah, I consider Telco Motion, that's toys, so I would consider the Jimmy stuff toys. Why not Art 70? Hi, Bernardo. Yeah, the memories I have well, here's a memory kind of like yours. I was I don't know how old I must have been maybe 3 or 4 years old, and I remember being in a drugstore. I don't know if was it Walgreens. Did they have Walgreens back then? I don't know. And I saw the Aurora Creature from the Black Lagoon glow kit, the square box glow kit. And that was the first monster toy I'd ever seen. I'd seen the Color Forms Outer Spacemen, but they weren't monsters. This was the first time I'd ever seen a toy based on a movie monster, like a Universal monster. And I was already familiar with creature features, like the Friday, Saturday night creature features on TV. And I'd seen the Creature from the Black Lagoon on TV, and I recognized the word creature. So I saw this Aurora box, and it said creature on it. And I recognized the Creature from the Black Lagoon, but I thought it was a creature features toy. And I ran again. It was my dad. I always seem to be with my dad in these memories. I went to my dad and said, Dad, there's a creature features toy. Look. It's a creature features toy. And I don't think I bought it, or I don't think he bought it at that time, but he did later buy that model for me. I eventually had all the Aurora kits growing up. But that was the first time in my life I'd ever saw a bona fide monster toy. I can remember the moment I saw the first time in my life I saw a monster toy. It was that model kit at that drugstore. And I remember it was on the bottom shelf, like, floor level, sitting there. Will I ever show monster coloring books? I don't really have very many. I have that one that where the Tomland card art came from. I have that one, and I have a couple later ones, but I don't really have a lot of coloring books. Ed Hill is talking about these reaction Godzilla toys. I like those. But I have a thing about little Godzilla toys. I feel like a Godzilla toy needs to be big. Of course, that means it's more money, but I feel like if like anything connected to Godzilla, I want it to have some size. So I don't know that I'd be buying those little ones. I know there's some boxed sets of Godzilla characters. Like I think they're all based on Destroy All Monsters, right? Although there's a Mothra one too. Um, I haven't bought those. I don't know. I don't like little Godzilla toys. I want big Godzilla toys. But yeah, I'm aware of those figures. I didn't buy the little Shogun Warriors. Like this, I think it's Super 7, right? I didn't buy the little Super 7 Shogun Warriors figure. I think because I missed the initial box one that was in the actual Shogun style box. And everyone since then has been something else, a card or whatever. And I guess if I were going to own one version of that, I'd want it in the Shogun style box, and I don't have that one. Andrew, is it Wiseman? Thank you, Andrew. Have I interviewed Sarah or Bela? No, I've met Sarah several times because a friend of mine named Robert is friends with her, and he's always, anytime I see him at a show, she's always there. They're always singing together. So I've seen her, with him. Bela Lugosi Jr. I've met and I talked to once. I didn't interview him. I just, shook hands and said hello. So I met him. I went to a screening of Dracula, the original Dracula, where he was there presenting it. And then afterward, he had like a Q&A, and you could go up and talk to him. And I've seen him around. He's been at other conventions. So that was the only time I went up and actually spoke to him. But I interviewed him. If I interviewed Bela Jr., I'd want to talk to him about licensing. And I don't know how that would go because I'm critical of the way he's handled his father's license. I feel like I understand where he's coming from, but I feel like some of what he's done has been detrimental to Bela's memory in terms of suppressing the merchandising that would sustain his memory for new generations by being so restrictive. I think I wish he'd been a lot looser about things so that more Bela merchandise would get out there, especially years ago when kids might have bought it. And also, I don't like how everything connected to Bela these days has to be so serious. Can't we have instead of everything having to be like museum quality, can't we have like a fun, playful Bela Lugosi Dracula toy? So I don't know how he responded to those questions. I'd be worried about his reaction to some of that. Oh, Roy. Yeah. So I actually have, unless I sold it, I'm pretty sure I have a box of Nabisco Monster Cook. So I have some of that stuff. I never thought to bring it on the show. I probably should have. Like when I was talking about the stamps, that would have been a good time to have that. I think I'm losing my voice. Yeah, Massamune, it's hard to find Topstone stuff. All right, it's getting harder and harder to find it. You find the 80s and 90s, but the older stuff I can't even find. Luckily, I have a pretty, if I may say so myself, I do believe I have the world's greatest collection of original Topstone Keith Ward era masks, like 50s, 60s, 70s, the original characters. I don't know anyone who has a collection of those that would rival what I have. Now we're talking about the later ones, the 80s and 90s. I don't have as much of that because it's not really where I'm coming from. I have some of it. I have more than some. I have quite a bit of it. But there are probably people who have specialized more in that era, and people who like the fun world masks and that kind of stuff, who maybe have more of that. But when it comes to like 50s, 60s, 70s into the 80s, I have I don't know how anyone could have a better Topstone collection than what I have. But I'm glad I collected it when I did, because if I were starting now, it would be difficult. Mikey, hello, Mikey. Okay, Mikey, let me go back over everything we've talked about. So first of all, what did we say when this began? Oh, well, I forgot, but you can rewatch it. We did mention you, Mikey. Your name came up. We did talk about you. Oh, Bernardo. Well, thanks for dropping by. I'm sorry that it's lonely in Mexico. There are monster and horror people in Mexico. I know there are. So maybe online, maybe you could start a Facebook group just like Mexican horror fans or collectors or something like that. And maybe they would find you. But you're certainly welcome here. And in the if you're not already in the Basement of Horror Facebook group, join that. So Mikey's asking about a monster toy I'd like to see blown up as a mask. Huh. That's a good question, because I know like Mortar Heads has done some of that. Creature Kid did a little bit of that. I've never really thought about that exactly, but it just occurs to me a Lincoln Mummy would really make a cool mask. Oh, that white Lincoln Mummy with the white bandages and the red star eyes and that crooked mouth. Wouldn't that be a good mask? That's unique. You don't see that every day. So that's an idea. Let's see what else. I don't know. Maybe a Tomland, like the Yeti, the blue-faced Yeti with the big ears. Has like the Ernest Borgnine face. But so it's like Borgnine from Devil's Reign, but as a Yeti, and it's got what I'm talking about. It's blue hair and all that. So that would make a cool mask. I could really see that as a mask. It has the yellow teeth, black eyes with yellow pupils. Oh, what else? What else? Those are two good suggestions right there. Has anyone ever done Stretch Monster as a mask? I'm sure someone's done that, right? Someone has to have done that. I don't know. What else could we do as a mask? Something vintage, I would think. Oh, I don't know. Those are three suggestions right there. Funny water. I don't know how many. Someone asked this earlier. A few thousand toys. I don't know. Thank you, Pat. Thanks for coming. Oh, Roy. So you grew up in Bethel. I visited that area a few years ago. I really would like to make another trip there just for research, because you probably don't know. I was working on a book about Topstone, and that got stalled. That project got stalled. But I really want to get that unstalled. But part of what I need to do is go back there for another research trip. I made one trip and I accomplished what I could, but I'd like to go back and see if I can tie up some loose ends. Yeah, the star eye, Mikey, star eyes could light up, but they don't have to though. I don't know. What I'm thinking of, I kind of like that painted look that the figure has, but whatever. They could light up. Oh wow, Mass Mutant says your dad worked at Topstone in the 80s. Is he still alive? Maybe I want to talk to him. It'd be nice to interview him. He might have something to say. I mean, this is a long shot, but does he have any photos of life inside the Topstone factory, like people making the masks? Because I've been searching, far and wide, trying to find those kinds of photos, and no one seems to have material like that. Um, so it's very hard to find anything like that. Oh, so I've already talked to him. I see. I see. Yeah, the Topstone stuff, well, none of the things we're talking about was meant to survive. Like this pet peanut was not meant to survive. Nothing. None of this stuff was meant to survive. This figure was not meant to survive. I mean, this thing was not meant to survive. Nothing was meant to survive. It's just a miracle any of this is still here. Hmm. No, I don't have any cards or stickers. I don't collect that. General Mills monster cereals. I bought the two Jada figures. I was hoping they would come out with Blueberry or Fruit Brute or whatever. They made Frankenberry and Count Chocula. So if they did another two of those, I'd probably do a figure on all four of them and maybe talk about the monster cereals that way. I used to have a box set of the original vinyl monsters, the what are they called, product people, but I sold those long ago, and I sold those in the 90s. I guess that's something someone asked earlier, what do I regret selling? I regret selling those. I'd like to still have those, although the boxes were trashed. They were not in good condition. But I don't really have a lot to show. I used to have some vintage boxes, like the General Mills cereal monsters. I used to have some vintage cereal boxes, but not anymore. Oh, Matt Wright Music is asking about CS60. Well, the CS60 was out for repairs and it just came back yesterday. It's having so the spring is having problems. I need a replacement spring. The one I had was a replacement spring, a very expensive replacement spring, but now that's gone bad. So I need another replacement spring. The spring is acting up. It's got a kink in it, and it's got issues. And there's one voice, so it's a 8-voice instrument. There's one voice that's always not quite like the other. Even after calibration, it's still not quite like the others. So I mean, but it just came back after some recalibration, so it's sounding better. And maybe I can make a recording with it before it goes out of calibration again. But it always needs maintenance. It's a high maintenance synthesizer. You gotta. Oh, whenever it comes back, I get maybe a few months of good use, and then it's out of whack again. I have to send it out to get recalibrated. But it's worth it. Nothing else sounds like that. It has a very unique sound, and certainly no synth you can buy today sounds anything like that. Pat is talking about some NECA toys. Yeah, the NECA. Well, you say it's gonna be fun. Well, yeah, but NECA stuff is very serious. It's very serious. The NECA Universal Monsters toys, the way they're presented, is very, very adult, very serious. But I am interested in seeing that Dracula and seeing what happens with these accessories for the mummy and other characters, and hopefully they make a creature too. What was my favorite cereal as a kid? I like grins and smiles and giggles and laughs. I like that a lot. And I like Freakies, but I don't know if I like Freakies because of the cereal or because of the characters on the box. I like Fruity Pebbles. And I still occasionally eat some Fruity Pebbles. Yeah, of course I like the monsters. I think I like Blueberry best of all with the monsters, but I liked them when the marshmallows were those little cylinder little barrel shaped nuggets, and the what are they made of? Oats, whatever that is. The oat part. It didn't have all those weird little shapes. I remember when it was very simple, the original kind. That's when I liked it. The modern versions, it's not like it used to be. But I think my favorite cereal is Grins and Smiles and Giggles and Laughs. Hello from Brazil. Hello, Fernando. Do I remember the 71 Mattel-filled wax witch? Yes, I have one, but I can't reach it from here. No, I can't see it from here, but it's over there. I do have one of those witches and the little. I guess he's a clown. He's tan colored. He has a big nose. There was the witch and the. I guess it's a clown. Do I collect monster art paintings, drawing? No, not really. No, like original paintings. No. All right, let's have final questions. And then we got. It's time to say goodnight. If you have any final questions, now is the time. Thank you, Fernando. Oh, Justin's asking about a replacement Frankenstein sweater. No, I don't know anything for an Azrak. Frankenstein's a very specific kind of a thing. I'm not, I can't think of anything. Maybe someone in Amigo group would know. Amigo figures are a little bigger than those Azrak figures. A lot of people are asking about posters. Will I show more movie posters? There seems to be a lot of interest in those. I had not planned on it, but there seems to be a lot of interest in seeing posters. I feel like it's awkward to show posters in this format. Roy is no tour right now. Good night. Am I looking forward to NECA Dracula? Yeah, I like the NECA figures. I bought the Frankenstein and the Mummy and the Wolfman, the colored versions. I didn't buy black and white. Of course, I want to have a Bela Dracula to go with those. I'm curious to see how they present it, if it's like Broadway Dracula or Universal Dracula. And I hope we get a creature. Brian Eno, I know lightning will strike me, but I've never been into Brian Eno. Never been able to get into him. And if you really want to see lightning strike, I've never gotten into Tangerine Dream. Never been able to get into Tangerine Dream. Now, lightning will strike at any moment. But those are two electronic music pioneers, two icons that I don't know why, but they haven't never been able to click with either of them. So let's see. I think this is the last call. You have any more questions? It's like an auction when the time's up on the auction, and when 2 minutes pass without a bid, it's time to close the auction. Do I like Monster Squad, Man Monster Party? I like them, but I don't love them. I think I like Mad Monster Party. I think I like the designs of the characters more than the actual film. I really like the designs and the concept. I don't know if I like watching the movie as much as the character designs. Monster Squad, I mean, I've seen it. I like it. It's cool. I don't like the Dracula in that movie. I don't feel like they did a good job with. A lot of people like that Dracula. I don't like that Dracula. I like the Wolfman. I like the Frankenstein. I like the creature, but I like the Mummy. Dracula, I feel he's just doesn't click with me in that movie. Okay, I think it's time to wrap it up. So I'm going to. Well, Fernando is asking about Godzilla. Yes, I love Godzilla movies. I grew up watching those. I like all eras of Godzilla, 50s through to the present. Gareth, yeah, I think Freakies were reissued some years ago, but I don't think I tried the reissue. So it's been since the 70s since I last tried Freakies. The one 70s, I guess there's two 1970s food products I would love to try one more time. That would be um, chocolate peppermint Pop Tarts. They had a chocolate crust and a pink peppermint filling. And I don't know why they haven't reissued that flavor, but they were big in the 70s, and I would watch the Far Out Space Nuts as I ate my chocolate peppermint Pop Tarts. It was a tradition for me on Saturday mornings. So I'd love to bite into a chocolate peppermint Pop Tart again. And breakfast squares. Breakfast squares are these dry, crumbly little square cakes. And they had chocolate and cinnamon. I think I like the cinnamon flavor best of all. That's another one I'd like to try again. They were these heavy, I don't know, they were really, from an adult perspective, they were pretty awful. But as a kid, I loved them. So there are two things I'd like to try again, but they don't exist. I need a time machine to be able to try them again. Dennis Gifford horror movies book. Yeah, I actually used to have it on the shelf here during some episodes, the Dennis Gifford book. So yeah, that was a big part of my childhood too. Okay, well, I think it's time to say goodnight. So thank you all for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who took the time to watch this and ask me questions and stayed with it during the Pet Rock, the mini episode on Pet Rocks, and the pirates and cowboys and weird stuff that was kind of off topic. Um, but thank you all for joining me, and thank you for all your questions. I appreciate it. You know that it was June 22nd when I did my first Basement of Horror live stream last year, 2021, and it was just by coincidence that June 22nd happened to be the day I did it this year. So maybe this will be an annual event, June 22nd. Uh, Perhaps if there's ever a Basement of Horror convention, that won't happen. But if there ever is, it should be on June 22nd. So that one time, thank you very much. So thank you, everyone, for joining me. And I'll see you again. And I'll go back to my old catchphrase at the end of the episode. The one who dies with the most toys is dead. Thank you for watching Basement of Horror. Good night.